Good evening, everyone. I'm Rick Walker with Maverick Multimedia and Maverick News, and this is ongoing live coverage of Freedom Convoy 2022. And I'm here with my co-host,
Brennan Kennedy, the host of the Flow Discourse podcast. Hello, everybody. How are you?
And tonight, Brendan, we have so much to share with people. It's going to be a stacked 3 or 4 or 5 or 2 or however many hours it's going to be. It's going to be, I guess, more than 2 because we're going to take you live to Parliament a little later in the broadcast to cover the vote on the Emergencies Act, which is, of course, the War Measures Act, where Justin Trudeau will attempt to tighten his grip on power tonight. And Brendan, I think it's a foregone conclusion that it will pass, as I said yesterday and even earlier than that. And my fear is it will be used for a considerable length of time, a very long time, I fear. It's supposed to be something that is reserved for the most serious of circumstances, used only really in times of war. And I think what we are about to see here is the extension of that act, or the extension of the timeline on that, to suit Justin Trudeau's grand plan, whatever that is. But I don't, as I said before, I don't think he's going to give it up easily, and he's got the support of the NDP. And I was watching what was going on in Parliament today during the debate, and honestly, the whole thing is a joke. And the Conservatives are useless. There is no real opposition to this, as we will illustrate for you tonight. The entire thing is a bloody joke, and Canadians should be fearful of what is coming down the pipe, because this is unprecedented, and it's going to normalize the use of this act, and it will leave Canadians with no rights, while Justin Trudeau stands there and says he's protecting people's rights. The truth is, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, you have no rights. The only freedom you have is the freedom that Justin Trudeau decides to give you tonight. And I think that will continue to be the case for quite some time to come, because he's about to tighten his grip on power. Thoughts, Brendan?
It's going to be exactly that way. When it comes to what we have going on here, it's going to be just like it was when the Conservative Party of Canada wanted to vote for a motion that the government would agree on a plan to get out of the pandemic safely. That was shot down. It was 180 some votes against like 130 some votes. It's going to be the same show here again. Jagmeet Singh, the leader of the National Democrat Party, or New Democrat Party, excuse me, has come out and did a press conference today as well, giving his full support for the Emergencies Act. He's basically Justin Trudeau's left hand. And oddly enough, this has forsaken the working people and the origins of the New Democratic Party entirely. Everything Tommy Douglas did, everything Jack Layton did, like, they've taken the old NDP and threw it in the garbage. It is dead. It is absolutely dead. And it's a shame. It's an absolute shame.
Yes, even during the debate today, the NDP paid lip service to workers, while at the same time they've been condemning truckers and farmers and the working class that showed up to support the truckers, and the truckers themselves are the working class, and that those used to be the people the NDP represent it and support it. But today, the political landscape has been redrawn, and the NDP could give two hoots. Couldn't give two hoots. They don't care about the working class. They say they do. They use those words. But if you watched what was going on in Parliament today during the debate, I'm sorry, folks. They don't care.
Of course
There was
they don't care.
virtually no support for the truckers in Parliament from any of the parties.
And we've seen this with that past motion I was just talking about. That the NDP, the very next day, stood up in question period. Jagmeet Singh stood up in question period and said, "We need to make a plan. We need to make a roadmap for exiting the pandemic." He just had the opportunity to vote on it.
Yeah.
So he's Justin Trudeau's left hand. Jagmeet Singh is the left hand of tyranny. And that's what he represents. He aligns himself with communists, and he aligns himself with all of these dangerous ideologies. This is not a good place for Canada to be in.
No, that's actually an understatement. These are the darkest days Canada has ever seen. This Canada is in peril. Canada has been lost. Canada was lost in Ottawa. The truckers were a last stand. Canada, as we have known it, is gone. Your rights, your freedoms, they no longer exist. That's what the Emergencies Act does. It gives the government ultimate power. It puts the government, the country, on a war footing, and it allows the government to do an end run around the Constitution, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It gives the Prime Minister massive, massive powers to just do as he pleases, to target people, to pick people right off the street if they're targeted for an investigation of any kind. It puts an end to most aspects of due process and in the court system. This is very, very, very dangerous. This is where we're at, and the Prime Minister continues to engage in a bunch of Orwellian doublespeak, standing there saying that he is protecting the rights of Canadians while he removes all of your rights. It's like psychological warfare. There is an information war going on. That's what this is about. He stood up there today in a news conference and said that he is protecting Canadians' rights. And he's doing it apparently by invoking and now having the Emergencies Act extended so that he has ultimate power to strip everyone of their rights. He can now freeze a bank account of any political opponent that he wants. Make no mistake. This is a power grab that gives Justin Trudeau the ability to target and crush his political opponents. That's what this is. And he's ruling tonight through fear. Even the opposition parties fear him. And they are about to hand him an extension on those powers.
Even though all the crisis that he set out to basically abolish or get rid of, it's all gone. There's no more blockades. Ottawa is cleared out, and it's just like I said last night, that they took something that was peaceful and beautiful, and then they went and they communized the whole thing. I've seen complaint after complaint on Twitter today about the citizens of Ottawa who had to drive through those areas, and they were ID'd and harassed by the police. You're telling me that's better than what they had?
It's a classic move that any dictator would do. It's like if someone challenges him and it's a threat to his power, it becomes a threat to the sovereignty of the state, of the nation. It becomes an existential threat to the nation state. His existence politically is tied directly to the existence of Canada. So if anyone threatens him or his power, it becomes an existential threat. Therefore, he gets to use the Emergencies Act because they're challenging him. He wants that power to protect himself. And all these rumors swirling around tonight and have been swirling around for the last couple of days, suggesting that Chrystia Freeland is going to remove or replace Justin Trudeau later this week. Bunk.
Well, that's a new one. I haven't heard that one.
Oh, yeah, I've been seeing that one flying around. Folks, Justin Trudeau isn't going anywhere because not only will they be voting to extend this Emergencies Act tonight, they've also turned this into a confidence vote. What does that mean? Well, the mainstream media won't report it the way that I'm going to explain it to you. What this will do is reinforce his position as leader of the Liberal Party and as Prime Minister, while at the same time giving him unprecedented, unmatched authoritarian power over his own people. He's already used the Emergencies Act, War Measures Act, to declare war on his own people, on truckers, on the middle class who showed up to express their displeasure with his policies. And now, because it's a confidence vote, if this is defeated tonight in Parliament, if our politicians vote against extending the use of the Emergencies Act, it would trigger an election because it would be a non-confidence vote in Justin Trudeau and the government. If they vote in favor of extending, then he gets to keep his power, his new power, unprecedented power. And at the same time, it reconfirms him as Prime Minister and leader of the Liberal Party, because they're not just voting on the Emergencies Act now. Now they're voting on his existence, on him, to say, does he have the support and confidence of Parliament, of the parliamentarians, of the other MPs, members of Parliament? Does he have their support? So tonight, when this passes, he gets to keep his new power, and these MPs will be voting to say, yes, Justin Trudeau, you have our support and confidence. And once he has that, he's not going anywhere. And it will make him more powerful than ever before. He will have so much authoritarian power that no one will dare oppose him. He will have the tools he needs to crush any political opponent he wants. And he will not let go. It will take some time for him to let go. In Parliament today, he was asked, when, how long do you plan on keeping these powers in place? And we don't have an answer. But the real answer, and the real answer is, there is no plan to give them up, just as there is no plan to exit from the COVID mandates. Just as we saw earlier, like just within the last week, they had a vote on that. The Conservatives wanted to vote to force the government to provide an exit plan or a plan to exit out of these COVID mandates. And they just said, no, we're not going to do that. And so there is no plan in place to get out of this. They have no plan to get rid of any of these mandates.
And they don't have a plan for it because they don't want one.
Right.
They clearly like what they're doing. They clearly like the way they operate things. And this, thank you so much for putting it in those words, Rick, because I think that so many people need to hear what you just said. And I'll add to it by telling people that this is a very dangerous move because it no longer makes it about the Emergencies Act, and it makes it about Justin Trudeau. Therefore, that as we would know from the past few weeks, that several members of his party are having intersquabbling, they're fighting amongst themselves about policies that they think are wrong. And so now those members are no longer going to be able to vote against the Emergencies Act, because if they do that, they're voting against Justin Trudeau and they're voting against the very party that they're in. They're not going to do that.
Ken says, Rick, stop being such a doom and gloom preacher. There is always hope. I believe in a higher power, and I do too, Ken. But here's where I'm at. I'm about being real. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like sunny ways and sunny days are just ahead. They're not. People somebody said to me today, how did we get here? Well, we took our freedoms, our democracy, our country for granted. There are still too many people sitting on their sofas with their feet up, eating Twinkies, watching Netflix, not really paying much attention. How many people are really going to be watching tonight? How many people really took the time to even watch the debate in Parliament today? Not many, I suspect, even as our Prime Minister enriches himself with power. I want to be optimistic. I want something positive to come out of all of this. I'm praying that I'm wrong. I'm praying that the MPs vote against this and don't allow the Emergencies Act to be extended. I'm praying that Justin Trudeau doesn't get to keep these unprecedented powers that will allow him to just completely ignore the Constitution, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and simply ignore our rights and put due process to the side while he goes out and conducts a witch hunt for truckers, farmers, conservatives, and anyone that he feels is a threat, because they're just a threat to him. I'm praying that they say no. But we know he has the support of the NDP, and it's going to happen. I think it's a foregone conclusion. We're just going to sit back and watch this unfold tonight. The truckers made a last stand.
This is not about doom and gloom. This is about the math. We have the facts. The Liberal Party and the NDP Party collectively hold 180 some seats altogether. That is enough to have an overwhelming majority. The NDP has already made their decision. All of the speeches and all of the discussions happening, all this happening in the House of Commons today is useless. It's not changing anybody's mind. It's not even debating anything. The parties have already decided what they're voting for and what they're not voting for. And in fact, what I think we'll see is Conservative members possibly even voting in and saying, yes, they agree with the Emergency Measures Act and that they would like to keep it. But I think that's the only surprise that we're going to see here. So we're not preaching doom and gloom here. We're talking about the reality of the situation. I don't like it any better than anybody else does, but here's the thing. The next few years is going to be a struggle, but we all need to weather it. And we all need to hold on. This is where the real line is going to need to be held. And we all need to do it together.
Happy Miles says, sorry, go ahead, Brendan. I was just going to read that chat.
No, sorry. Things are going to change eventually, but for right now, this is what the exact situation that we're looking at. The math doesn't add up for sunny ways right now. Sorry, Rick, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Happy Miles says it's not going to pass. Otherwise, it's on. People will revolt. Parliament, end all mandates now. Freedom of choice, period. Kiss Mom 101. I think it's going to pass. I know it's going to pass, and people are not going to revolt because the Emergencies Act gives Justin Trudeau the ability and the power to use the military as he sees fit. And if he needs to unleash the military on his own people, he'll do it. And he's already militarized police services to go in there and beat the crap out of protesters who were entirely peaceful for over 3 weeks. Protesters that really were involved in the most successful protest of its type, I think, in world history, where it inspired other convoys around the world, other convoys across Canada, and resulted in some premiers actually beginning to remove, saying they're going to begin removing mandates, which is what they were after. But ultimately, Trudeau said, no, I'm not even going to listen to you. I'm not going to talk to you. And he didn't come out to talk to them. So they left Ottawa with getting nothing from him. And he's done what he always does. He twisted everything, painted them as a bunch of Nazis, and now successfully has even the opposition MPs in Parliament using the same kind of doublespeak and misinformation and Orwellian language that he's been using. So he's sort of been controlling the narrative, and then he turned it around and used it to grab even more power for himself. So that's what's gone on. Instead of the truckers getting more from him, they got some from the premiers. They got rid of O'Toole, but on the Liberal side with Justin Trudeau, he just used it to grant himself more power. Very masterful. I have to give him that. It's evil, it's devious, and even now, most Canadians are asleep. They don't even understand what he has done, and they don't understand what is about to happen tonight.
And here's just to show the folks that we're not pulling the wool over anybody's eyes here. Like, this is what we're looking at. That between the NDP and the Liberal Party, there's 184 seats there. The people voting against this are simply not there for numbers. There's an overwhelming majority, and that's what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. That.
Yeah, and Joseph says we don't want to do what you say, which is revolt. If you want change, take it to the ballot box. That's right. That's absolutely right. Nobody here is calling for a revolt.
No, absolutely
or anything like that. We don't want any violence of any kind. We've said for always here, it has to be done. There has to be a political solution to this, and that means we have to deal with it in Parliament. We need to go through the process. We need to have a vote on this. That's going to ultimately be the solution. But I don't know how the heck we get there when we have conservative MPs just going like this, using the same kind of language. Today in Parliament, none of those MPs really stood up to back up those truckers. Not one of them. Not that I heard. Not in any real substantial way. And some of them were like, we're so grateful for the police resolving this in a way that kept everyone safe. Meanwhile, we've been showing you video of them beating the snot out of people down there because they basically hired a bunch of mercenaries to go in and trample old ladies with walkers, with horses, beat veterans with batons, shoot independent journalists with tear gas canisters and spray them with pepper spray. Well, they beat them and then arrest them. They arrested over close to 200 people. They confiscated something like over 70 some vehicles, almost 100 vehicles. And it looks like they're going to auction some of them off. It looks like the mayor of Ottawa is saying that he wants to sell them and keep the proceeds to pay for the cost of cleaning up. And it's a bunch of BS, because what they're really doing is they're looking to crush people, crush their political opponents, crush those truckers, destroy their lives, cancel their bank accounts, take their rigs, keep them in debt for the rest of their lives, and give them no possible way to pay any of it off because their bank accounts are frozen. They won't be able to work. They're going to have criminal records. They won't be able to ever get loans again. They can't even bank. They can't get any money. And if you this is going to remain in place against these guys for a long time to come. They're not done. They're going to keep hunting for these guys. They're going to hunt these guys down now, because tonight, when they extend the use of that act, he will have so much power, he will be able to find and persecute anyone he wants. That's what your prime minister is going to do. He is the worst prime minister Canada has ever seen. He has no business being in that office. He's been spewing hate, calling people racists, Nazis. It's disgusting, inexcusable, and he should be voted out at the earliest opportunity. But I fear tonight, with this vote, as I said, he will cement his power. He will tighten his grip on that authoritarian power in a way this country has never seen. And we are about to go down a very deep, dark hole.
Well, the people asked for sunshine, and you just brought sunshine in. Hello, Carla Olson. Welcome.
Hello. I don't know.
And there's the counterbalance.
Rick, you were on quite the roll when I walked in.
I'm petrified.
Yeah. Well, it's a pretty tense day, right, for Canada. It's awfully frightening. I will say that Canadians are ready to take whatever he's about to dish out. They say that they're going to still stand in their freedom. So, there always has to be an optimistic side to this.
Make me feel better. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, we've already seen some Liberals turn. I feel like with the few speeches that I was able to launch in the debate, I felt that they were strong. I think Pierre Poilievre came strong with his words. I felt like he did a very good job. Candice Bergen has been speaking out. I know in Sarnia-Lambton, Marilyn Gladu has confirmed that she's absolutely not voting. So we know we have the Conservative vote. The NDP party has a little bit of unrest, so I understand, in there. So quite possibly they may turn as well. There's always the Senate. There's always hope, Rick Walker. There is always hope.
Yeah, well, you had every...
There is always hope.
Well, the hope is...
I hope so.
The only hope that I have right now is for whatever happens after we weather what's coming. Like that's going to be it. We got something coming here, and we're going to have to swallow it, and it isn't going to be fun.
Well, I believe very strongly in the amount of unity, that these truckers brought to Canadians, right? They brought a movement that I don't think can be broken. I mean, they stood there and were beaten and pummeled. They got down on their knee in front of these tyrannical police officers and were beaten without fighting back. They showed that they had strength. That is strength. That is real strength. Strength doesn't come from the billy clubs. Strength doesn't come from the tyrannical movements of Justin Trudeau. And I'm going to stand on my principle that love is always stronger than his power. Yeah, if we do, we're going to go into a very dark place, a very, very dark hole. But the key is, what are we going to do with it? Are we going to make lemonade, or are we going to hide? What are we going to do?
Well, I think you know where I stand on this. Ultimately, you might win the hearts and minds of people with your, with your love, but they have all the guns, and he has all the power on that side, and he has the courts, and he has all of that. And if he is successful tonight, and he's going to cement his power, not just through the act, but because they're going to confirm that they are supporting him, because it's now a confidence vote as well.
I just found that one out too. We do have the support of the world. The world has been watching what's going on in Canada. The world is laughing at Justin Trudeau. They were laughing at him during the convoy, but today they're speaking out against him. They see that he's a tyrannical leader. They see that he's seeking I mean, wouldn't it be great if Putin just came in and decided he was going to save us? That's a pipe dream, but I'm just saying, we don't know. We don't know.
Oh, great! Now some mainstream media outlet's going to pick up that clip and say that we're in collusion with the Russians.
Oh yeah, I do need to watch that. I keep forgetting about legacy media. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't watch it anymore.
I mean, I know people are not giving up, and here's a clip of a guy. He's like a online blogger, and I just came across this today. And you know what? There are truckers out there, and they're trying to regroup. And let me just let this roll. He talks about what's been going on in the somewhere around the Ottawa area. I don't know how far away they are. We don't know where their location is. But some of these truckers are still, even now, not giving up. And I did see protesters still in Ottawa today. There are just little pockets of, I guess you would call it resistance, right? Protester resistance. And there are still truckers out there.
Yeah, their trucks are gone, but I don't think they've left.
All right, guys. So I've arrived here at the gathering, one of the rally points that I was called out to see if we could do any help out here. What we're not allowed to do is live stream from here. There's a big concern about being raided. I guess that they've set up elsewhere and they've been raided and sent packing, right? So we're not allowed to do any live streams here. I'm trying to keep it as nondescript in the background as I can, but I'll give you a very quick little here, guys. And that doesn't even represent what is it. There are a lot. There's a lot. These guys haven't left you guys. They haven't left us. They haven't abandoned us. If you're in Ottawa right now, don't feel alone, guys. They're here, but they are struggling. They're struggling a lot. I'll post, I just got here a few minutes ago. Gave a couple $100 to the guy who had his back of his pickup truck loaded with jerry cans. They're going to do a fuel run. So you guys sent that in for them, and they've got it already. There's more to go. We're going to make sure that we do everything we can to take care of everybody that we can. For food, warmth, whatever. There's hundreds of people here. There's a farmer here who's allowed them to stay here, to camp on his property. So please, I'm on the ground here, guys. I won't be able to live stream. I can post videos, updates, pictures, somewhat, but they don't want to be attacked again. While they're trying to figure out what's going to happen next. They're in good spirits here, even though people are cold, they're hungry, they're freezing, but people are stepping around them, and this is what you love to see. This is what it's all about, right? So I'll give you guys another little before I let you go.
Okay, so fair enough. But here's the thing, Carla. Here's the thing, Brendan. Here's the thing, folks. Those people are being chased. They're being hunted tonight. Okay? They're not protesting downtown. They're on private property. We heard that they've also, parked rigs in little pockets here and there around the Ottawa area, and the cops have been chasing them down and breaking them up. Why? Because the Emergencies Act is in place. They don't even have the right to gather anymore. So they're being hunted down, broken up, pushed out, and targeted as domestic terrorists. All right? They're trying to figure out what to do. They are at war with these truckers. Anywhere they go, they will be chased and pushed and pushed and chased. The cops are hunting them down. And if not the cops, it will be the military. And you combine the Emergencies Act with the new hate speech laws and all this racist rhetoric that we have coming from Jagmeet Singh and Justin Trudeau, where they're accusing all of these truckers and farmers and middle class, working class people as a bunch of fascists and Nazis, and they're all going to jail. They're all going to go away for a long time. They're going to come and confiscate all those trucks. They're going to come and confiscate houses, bank accounts, assets, pensions, everything. You think I'm exaggerating? You wait. He will come down like a ton of bricks on anybody that opposes him. That's what's at stake tonight. That's what's going to happen. And these damn members of parliament, they're going to rubber stamp this damn thing. And that's what's going to happen tonight. And the country is screwed. Now, I'm sorry to be a Mr. Negative, but that's the truth. And the mainstream media is spinning this like it's not even really a big deal. These MPs, I saw Leslyn Lewis stand up in Parliament today and talk about Black history and some BS crap about, and it's not BS, but it's like some history lesson about slavery, instead of talking about the matter at hand and the peril that the country is in tonight. Instead of dealing with that, she's waxing poetic with some virtue signaling to try and score some points and win some votes or something, or to maybe just virtue signal to Justin Trudeau so that he doesn't come after her when this damn thing passes, because he won't just be targeting truckers soon. He'll be going after conservatives too, and anybody else that opposes him. Don't you mark my words. He'll come after those conservative MPs too, eventually, if he's given half a chance. And Jagmeet Singh will too. And members of the PPC. And I mean, it's so bad. Even the Communist Party of Canada came out and said that this goes way too damn far, because even they know that they can be targeted. And they have been in the past. So this is so far left. It's so fascistic and communistic that it's too goddamn communistic for the communists.
I did see
That's
that.
how serious this is. You guys you can't even begin to fathom how far this is going. This is a catastrophe. These are the darkest days ever in the history of this country. And if he grabs power tonight, the country is dead. As a free Western democracy, Canada dies tonight. Canadians need to wake the hell up. It's already too damn late. The country is gone. And now to get it back, we have to fight somehow to get it, and we have to find some peaceful way to do it. But they've got guns and goons and mercenaries and tanks and fighter jets and 2 UN planes filled with who knows what up in North Bay. And the country's being run by people who have ties to the World Economic Forum and are clearly executing some crazy international plan that sounds so sinister that you sound like a whack job when you even talk about it. But it's not a conspiracy. It's happening right now. In less than an hour and a half, they're going to vote to make this a reality. This is martial law. And we have our goddamn MPs standing there in Parliament talking a bunch of bunk. They won't even call it what it is. They won't even defend the damn truckers who made a last stand for democracy and freedom. What the hell is wrong with them? Wake the hell up. All of you. I want the whole country to wake the hell up.
How do we do that, Rick Walker?
I don't know, because I'm shouting, and I've been shouting for the past 2+ years with a handful of other people. And nobody is listening until now, but it's too damn late. So what the hell are you going to do? Love conquers all? Not when they bring in goons and beat the shit out of you with batons and fucking guns.
Yeah, but
they literally beat people with the butts of rifles, and the media stood there, videotaped it, and then went on the air, mainstream media, and spun it like the protesters were the violent ones. And half the damn country believes it. We're living an Orwellian nightmare. People need to wake up. It's doublespeak. They're listening to a prime minister who stood there today and said that he's protecting your rights while he takes them all away. You have no rights left to protect. They're gone. Do you understand, people? You have no rights. There's nothing to protect. He's full of crap. He's lying to you and psychologically abusing you with a bunch of Orwellian doublespeak. Think about what he is saying. It's the opposite of what he's saying. You have no rights. Nothing. You have only what he lets you have. You don't even have the right to your own money. He will take it from you if he wants to, because he now has the power to do it. Anything he wants, he can take. You have nothing. And I hope you like it, because remember, you'll own nothing and you'll like it. Guess what? You're there.
So, speaking of the World Economic Forum, there's something interesting that came out of Saturday's emergency debate, and I think it's worthy of replaying. I already have it queued up here, Rick, if you want to bring it up.
Commentaire, questions and comments. The Honourable Member for Ottawa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I listened to my colleague's speech. I had a constituent that wanted me to ask a question about outside interference to our democracy. Klaus Schwab is the head of the World Economic Forum, and he bragged how his subversive WEF, World Economic Forum, has, quoted, infiltrated governments around the world. He said that his organization had penetrated more than half of Canada's cabinet. And I was wondering, in the interest of transparency, could the member please name which cabinet ministers are on board with the WEF's agenda? My concern is the deputy.
Order. I know that the member was in a really good question there, but the audio is really bad and the video is really bad as well. And I apologize. I don't know if the member. Okay, let's try again. The honourable member for Timmins James Bay.
See,
I heard that loud and clear. How about you guys?
the problem is when people hear things like World Economic Forum, they think it doesn't even exist. Most people think it's not even a real thing. They think it's just a conspiracy theory. But these people meet every year in Davos. Justin Trudeau, Chrystia Freeland. You can go on the WEF website, and they have web pages for them. They both went to the Klaus Schwab School for young world leaders. They're both graduates. Half the caucus has ties or has been to the Klaus Schwab School. Yeah. They're all instruments of Klaus Schwab. He talks about it, and you can find it all online. You can find clips of Klaus Schwab talking about that and the way that the Canadian government has been infiltrated and the way that Canada is the first Western country that will fall. It is fallen. It has fallen. It will now be under this new umbrella of world governance. It will no longer be a sovereign state. Justin Trudeau is giving up our sovereignty. That is the plan. It will be, as he said, the world's first post-nation state. That's what we're looking at. And that is global communism. But it's sort of a hybrid. It's like it's a fascistic communistic system that we will be living under. And as I said, you will own nothing and you will like it. It's all written down. It's all out there. That's the truth. And that's where we're at. And that's why he doesn't hesitate to seize the bank accounts.
No, he doesn't. He hasn't seized it all. Like, I think one very important question that we haven't seen answered, well, we haven't seen any questions answered at all. But one thing I would say is that they haven't answered anything with the Emergencies Act of what's happening. And it's terrifying. Like, they're just using doublespeak through the whole thing, and it's a lot of smoke and mirrors.
There was more damage during the BLM riots in Montreal in 2020. You can go online and see footage of street signs being ripped down and thrown through store windows, police cars being torched and turned over. I've seen more violence after a Stanley Cup final in major cities like Toronto, Montreal. where crowds have gotten out of hand. This is a bunch of BS. What were they doing in Ottawa? Dancing, singing, waving flags, singing the national anthem, sitting in a hot tub, bringing in bouncy castles for kids. And all this doublespeak. Yeah, they're protecting the freedoms of the Ottawa residents. The country is lost. Now we have to find some way to get it back. Live and Inspired says, Trudeau makes me want to kill myself so I don't have to see what he will do next. Yeah. Suicide rates are way up. And Canadians are leaving the country. I know people who have already left, and I was speaking to someone today who's also getting ready to leave because they see the writing on the wall. Canada has fallen, and people are trying to flee. The problem is Canada, the United States, the two countries in the world that were left where people could flee to. And now probably half the U.S. is getting to be almost as bad as Canada. So you're left with about half the U.S. and Canada's gone. So where are you going to go? I guess some people are going to Mexico. I don't know if it's any better down there or not. I guess it seems to be because people are heading that way. And people are withdrawing their money. The confidence in the Canadian banking system is undermined. Companies are not going to invest here anymore because if they're going to seize bank accounts like this, then they're quite willing and they won't hesitate to seize the assets, seize companies like other communist countries and other countries run by dictators have, where they go in, they'll seize entire companies and nationalize them. Just take them. Take everything from people they don't like. Nationalize it. Do it in the name of the people. Companies are not going to invest here anymore. You think the economy is bad now with the extension of this War Measures Act, confidence in this country, it ain't coming back. Because every time Justin Trudeau feels that he's threatened politically, he's just going to use that. And he's going to turn on his political enemies. And if you're rich and you have some big successful company up here and he wants it, he'll just take it. The government will just take it.
Well,
they're
that's
just going to be.
That does remain to be seen. I do have queued up there some footage from Montreal from May of last year, from the BLM riots. I'd actually like Carla's take on it because she just witnessed peaceful protests in Ottawa.
Who shot this?
Hey?
Who shot the footage? Is my mic on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is raw footage.
Yeah.
Oh, this is Montreal, right?
Yeah, this is Montreal.
Yeah, these are the BLM riots in, was it 2020, right?
No,
2021. 2021? Yeah,
May.
The George Floyd stuff.
Oh, see, look, there you go.
And this is Canada. This is not. This is not in the States. It was even worse in the States, as we saw.
Yeah, they were lighting fires in the
What did they do?
States.
What's with the fire truck? Do we know what the deal is with that?
I don't know what the deal is with it, but
did they steal the fire truck? Is that what happened?
I don't.
Or are the firefighters driving it?
I think the firefighters are driving it.
I don't know what the story is behind that.
I don't know, but all I know is Ottawa didn't look like that.
Well, plus keep in mind, this is at the height of the pandemic, right? When there's not supposed to be any gathering outside. If you had more than, 5 people or something, or 2 people or whatever that stupid number was, depending on the province you were in, you could be charged. And we saw people being charged. We saw kids. Oh, yeah. We saw kids being arrested for playing in parks, ice skating outside.
Oh, look. Jeez.
What is that, a Molotov cocktail?
I don't know, it was something on fire and he threw it.
Yeah, so here are the cops.
They're just standing there.
And people are throwing things at them.
Wow, what a contrast, right?
I think this is very, very important show right now, actually, now that I'm looking at it, and that...
And we need to make clear, because people are going to be tuning in and out, tuning in and out. This is not Ottawa. This was Montreal BLM riots. We're showing you to contrast what went on there versus what was going on in Ottawa.
Yes, this is not Ottawa. This is Montreal during the pandemic, BLM riots. You see any of that in Ottawa, Carla?
No. The only smoke I saw was the tear gas from the police.
No, you see people throwing things at police or anything?
No.
Bitcoin. Everyone switched to Bitcoin. You know what? Trudeau, they're even talking about banning cryptocurrency. They're talking about doing that, and they now have the power to seize cryptocurrency as well. That's how much power he's given himself.
Didn't see any of that in Ottawa either.
No, did not. We saw, like Rick Walker said, bouncing castles, people dancing, hugging. We saw a lot more cops than that.
And through all of this, they didn't
These
need
cops-
the Emergencies Act.
No, they didn't.
These
No, they
people are
didn't.
aggressively pursuing the police. Like, these cops are scared.
Yeah, I would be scared. Oh, gee.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, maybe that's why the cops react one way here and one way there. That's why the government reacts one way here, one way there. Like, are they afraid of the protesters, or are the protesters working for the government? Like, why the difference? Why the difference in the way that they're treated? Why is one protest so scary that they need the Emergencies Act, but the other one, which is clearly is violent, why do they not need it for that?
And I want to clearly highlight that point. I really don't care what people's opinions are. I think that we need to take a look at this, something that was clearly violent, and we need to just provide a direct comparison as to how the government had handled these situations. This is night and day.
And again, this
Absolutely.
is Montreal during the BLM riots. Just showing you this to contrast what happened there versus what was going on in Ottawa.
I mean, they were actually damaging property, violence. They scared the police. You could tell they were aggressive towards the police. I mean,
Oh yeah, those cops there are in full go mode.
And I've seen this footage before, and I know that I don't know how long this goes on, but
Yeah, I could cut it off whenever you want.
no, it's okay. Like I know there's footage of windows being smashed and street signs being removed and torn down, phone booths being pushed over, like
Yep.
a lot of damage. That's what they were doing down there. It was like, it was violent. And with the BLM riots throughout North America, we saw people even being beaten in the streets by protesters.
I've seen like footage of a
yeah,
dude
the entire
getting his
tone
head-
is different.
Oh, big time. Oh, there's your phone booth.
Yeah, I remembered that. Look at this. Did you see anything like that in Ottawa?
No, I did not. In fact, I saw people cleaning the streets and picking up garbage, feeding the homeless.
So why was the Emergencies Act not needed for this, but for bouncy castles and hot tubs, we do?
I mean,
Why
I think
is
the
it-
reality is, Justin,
Go ahead.
I think Justin
Sorry.
Trudeau has been wanting to invoke the Emergency Act for years. He just found any opportunity. I don't know why he didn't do it here.
Did any of these people get their property confiscated so that the city could sell it and finance
And in answer to that, the vote is coming up in
An
1
hour.
hour. 1 hour.
Yeah.
So we're
1 hour?
building up to that. Yeah, and I don't have much hope for the Senate either. The Senate has become a rubber stamp, basically, for legislation.
You see,
So-
I think another part of this that kind of tells to the testament of Ottawa is Ottawa lasted so long because they couldn't do anything more than slap bylaw infringements on them, give them tickets. This was straight out violence, and they went right in, and they had to forcibly remove all this stuff.
Well, I mean, the citizens of Ottawa, you know, the legacy media is saying that the citizens of Ottawa were afraid. I highly doubt they were as afraid as the citizens of Montreal. This is frightening.
Yeah, it is frightening. Look, see, even the camera dude just got knocked down here. Look at that. I just
Yeah.
remember,
Did
folks,
you see any graffiti, anything like that in Ottawa, Carla?
I
the
did
time
see
you were there
graffiti,
the
but
past
it was an
month.
anti-protester. I saw some. An anti-protester did put several, did graffiti a trucker's truck, telling him to go home.
Right.
Shot a gun into the cab of his truck.
Yeah, I also
Nothing
saw.
from the protesters too.
Yeah. Yep, and I did see.
I mean, unless
Tires-
they consider this tire slashed, yeah, they
Tires
slashed
slashed,
the
but that
tires.
was the truck tires slashed by
Right,
counter protesters.
correct.
That's what I saw as well.
you were harassed and assaulted by a counter protester.
I was.
That's right.
As
You were
were many
assaulted.
people in her path.
Tell us
There were
about the
people in
assault.
her
What
path.
happened? Tell us about that
Well,
assault
basically,
against
I
you.
was- Well, I was walking down the street, just up one of the side streets, up to Wellington Street. This girl walked by me, and she brushed my shoulder. I didn't think anything of it. She got ahead of me. She had a mask on. She turned around. She called me she called me an F and B, called me a Nazi, said that, get out of her city. We just want everyone to get COVID. We're trying to kill people with COVID. And then I continued to follow her. She threw a snowball at me, and I didn't do anything. I just smiled. I just kept walking, ignored what she was doing. She got ahead of me, and then she went up to Wellington Street, approached a woman and her child quite aggressively, and the woman grabbed her child, held her child, and was pushing, backing up away from this girl.
Yeah.
This was in front of a table where they were giving out coffee and, donuts and things. And so the gentleman who was manning this table had a coffee in his hand. So he kind of went over to intervene, like, don't touch this kid. But he didn't say anything to her. And he was just, saying, hey, everything's okay. Relax. It's okay. She came, she kicked him. She kicked the coffee out of his hand, went past him. Then she pulled flags off of the truck. What else did she do? There's so many things she did. Picked up some shambles. Pylons, started throwing pylons. And I was behind her recording it, and she went through a group of protesters who were shoveling the sidewalks. It had snowed, and she kicked at their shovels, and they were like, hey, it's okay. Like, just being very, nice to her, trying to diffuse her. She turned around, saw that I was video recording, and then just came after me, grabbed my hat, pulled it off, pulled my hair, and I'd be basically on the ground. She was going after my phone, and 4 or 5 of the men that were shoveling, managed to get her to come off of me. She slipped and fell. They diffused her. She walked out of the area, left her phone on the ground, which was the irony of that was fantastic. I turned the phone into the police, did not charge her, but later that night she was charged by the police and arrested for threatening to pepper spray other people who were at the protest.
Right. Brendan, I'm going to play this clip again of the trucker who was calling for the beginning of a truckers' strike, or even a general strike today, because some people are still not giving up on that convoy. So I'm going to play this, and maybe we can find some footage of just some of the footage that was happening during the Ottawa demonstration, just to give that comparison for folks, so we can compare.
Okay, I will pull something up now.
Yeah. So again, this has
been spreading like wildfire too on the internet.
Yeah. So this is the message that the convoy, or it appears someone from the convoy, I don't know who this guy is, his face is blurred, but this is the message that's been getting out. And it's not playing.
Yeah, the same thing
I had a
happened
hard time
with
getting it to play
footage last
today too.
night.
The same
Yeah.
video.
Couldn't
Let
hear it.
me re-cue it here. Sorry, folks. I will get it to work.
Well, Rick Walker, I was afraid you were going to
Here
have
we
a
go.
stroke, so I'm grateful that you're breathing and calm.
Oh my God.
I can't help you from here.
He does that sort of thing all the time.
Here we go.
Canadians cheering what they are doing reap the benefit of their courage without also sharing in their sacrifice. Therefore, we're asking that beginning February 21, 2022, no one go to work until the mandates are lifted and Justin Trudeau resigns or is removed as leader of the party by his party. Asking that Justin Trudeau be removed as leader of his party is not an attempt to overthrow the government, but a reasonable petition to members of parliament to use the lawful powers imbued to them by their office to remove someone from leadership who is clearly no longer serving the interests of Canadians. Therefore, make whatever arrangements you need to make for as long as you need to make them to stay at home from work. We recommend to everyone that they stock up on supplies and be prepared for protracted shortages of goods. We also ask that you forward this message to everyone in your network on every platform available to you, not only so that they can stand, but also so they can prepare. As well, we ask you to call your member of parliament and demand that they call their Liberal and Conservative and NDP counterparts in parliament to ensure an end to the mandates and the revocation of the invocation of the Emergencies Act. If you're a member of parliament, a provincial legislator, or the premier of a province, and you've received this message, it is also time for you to get a backbone. The Canadian people have watched you flip-flop on your position so many times, it is difficult to believe you have any integrity left, and we're sick of it. It's time to prove you have a measure of backbone remaining. So take a principled stand and admit that nothing you've attempted to implement to deal with COVID has worked. Masks haven't worked. Distancing hasn't worked. Quarantines haven't worked. And the vaccines aren't working. And you know it. In fact, the data shows that huge numbers of vaccinated people are now extremely sick, and they're rightly pissed off. Many of them feel completely duped and actually comprise a large number of the protest groups now amassing. So to reiterate the essence of this message, first, a huge thank you to the many truckers and their families in Ottawa who have risked their livelihoods, their time, their talent, and their treasure for the benefit of all Canadians. In solidarity and out of respect for their commitment to stand for Canadians, we therefore ask that beginning February 21, 2022, all Canadian truckers and American truckers hauling to Canada, you park your rakes. And to the rest of Canadians, stand with them by refusing to go to work until the mandates are lifted. The invocation of the Emergencies Act is revoked, and Justin Trudeau is no longer the leader of the Liberal Party of Canada. If you're seeing this video after February 21st, just join in. Share this on every platform available to you with as many people as you can, and buckle up. their homes, freedom, and livelihood. And it is completely unacceptable that Canadians cheering what they are doing reap the benefit of their courage without also sharing in their sacrifice. Therefore, we're asking that beginning February 21, 2022, no one go to work until the mandates are lifted and Justin Trudeau resigns or is removed as leader of the party by his party. Asking that Justin Trudeau be removed as leader of his party is not an attempt to overthrow the government,
All right, Rick, it's just
but a
looping now.
reasonable
Yep.
petition to members.
So, did you hear anything on the ground, like in on location today, Carla, like about that message?
In Sarnia, yeah, I did speak with a trucker, and he said that that there was this plan in action, and they are calling for people to basically go on vacation, call in sick. So in hopes to shut everything down. Apparently, he said basically no matter what we're under, they can't stop you from calling in sick yet.
No, they can't. No, they can't.
And just a reminder, Carla's been out there on the front lines. We're on the front lines of the information war, and she spent better part of a month up in Ottawa. We're expanding our coverage. We're trying to bring you information you just can't get on the legacy media, CTV, CBC, Global, all the newspapers. They're all bought and paid for now. The government controls them all through concentration of ownership and just grants. Tens and hundreds of millions of dollars worth of grants. They've bought them all off. And we're here doing our best, and we could really use some help. We can't do this, folks, without you. If you can find some way to make a donation, it would greatly, greatly help us. We'd really appreciate it. FreedomReporters.com is where you can make a donation. There's also a hot link in the description on YouTube and Facebook where you can go straight to the PayPal donation page, or just go to FreedomReporters.com. And if you can make a donation, again, greatly appreciated. And for those who have already donated, thank you. Thank you so much. It's become clear since the beginning of this whole convoy thing that we need to do what we're doing. There needs to be more independent journalists out there. Carla was assaulted when she was in Ottawa. She's been out there putting her chin out and taking it on the chin. And as we saw over the weekend, other independent journalists were arrested, some of them assaulted, injured. It's not going to be easy. But we're doing our part by fighting the information war. That's what we're doing here. So again, freedomreporters.com. Carla.
Also, you can support
Brendan.
us by liking and subscribing. Don't forget to hit the notification bell.
Right.
Sorry.
Do you guys think that the message from that trucker, the remnants of the convoy encouraging a strike, is the message getting out there enough? Are people hearing it? Is it getting out there? Is it going to be supported? I couldn't tell today. And it was supposed to start today.
I'm not so sure that it's getting out there, to be honest. I mean, throughout the last 2 years, there have been many, many things going on Facebook, pull your kids from school this day, everybody stop working that day. And none of it has really happened, sadly. And again, as we've seen with the truckers convoy, the only real way to make any impact is complete solidarity. So I do fear that message isn't getting out there. I think people, there's so many people who are working, and it's not, some people just simply are not willing to give up the paycheck either. I mean, not everyone gets paid days off. So I think the challenge lies there.
Yeah.
The economy's been a mess over the last 2 years. So many people are literally living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, I went to the grocery store today. I came out with 4 bags and spent like 4 half full bags and spent $200 on nothing. Like nothing. So,
it has gone up, and it's insane. Like when I used to live in Northern Ontario like 10 years ago, it was vastly expensive to get anything up there, and I live down here now, and it's even more expensive than it was there. all that time ago. But Rick Walker, I think I share sentiments here with Carla, mostly because a lot of people live check to check, and a lot of people have a lot of investments, like they have their homes, their cars, or some of them even have investments on their transports that they drive because they're independent owner operators. How many people would it take for something like that to be feasible? How many people would it have to be 5%, 10%? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I do know that.
I think it'd have to be higher.
Oh yeah.
I do know that a school board in Windsor, Ontario, there was a plan for like a student walkout that day, and they just closed the school because they were citing like safety or something concerns like that. Like,
look, you know what? These protests that we're seeing, like, again, I don't mean to be a doom and gloom guy. We've been watching all these little protests. In the beginning, it was like you'd go out in the beginning and you'd see 2-3 people on the street corner. I went out to a couple of them, and people would drive by and say, "I hope you get COVID and die." Okay, and then slowly they built, and yes, we're getting more people out to them. But as soon as we get something like what we had with the truckers convoy, the government just came in and crushed it.
Well, the government clearly saw they were losing ground and losing support of Canadians. They started to realize we were not a fringe minority, right? And
Brendan, you want to roll this?
Yeah, let's just explain what. So here is footage from Ottawa on day 20, so right before the big crackdown, and this is the difference between what you've seen with the BLM riots in Montreal and what had undergone in Ottawa. And there's the difference. Look at that.
It was like a festival type atmosphere. People carrying Canadian flags, singing the national anthem. They were dancing. There were speeches on the stage. People hugging, right? Giving out,
All the
food
time.
for free, all day, all night, free food. They were feeding the homeless. Well, the media said that they were stealing food from the homeless. Even now, like the veterans were shoveling snow off the National War Monument, while the government and the media were saying that they were desecrating it. I'm sorry.
Parliament continuing to say that it's desecrated.
That's right, including conservatives. They're just, going along with it. So how are we supposed to have hope when there's no opposition? There's no real opposition. How are we supposed to have hope? And the guy who was operating that boom truck with the big Canadian flag on it, the cops beat the crap out of him. I saw the video of that too. Yeah.
They broke his window.
Yep.
Yeah,
Real
and he
nice.
was
Way
a
to go,
great
guys.
guy.
Oh, very extremely professional. They had to be the most professional that they could. And I guess they were. They were extremely professional in the way they broke his window and beat him with their
clubs.
Yeah, with their clubs.
Yeah. No, they
And not
they
just
were
one
quite
officer,
effective with him.
multiple officers. Yeah, they had to really beat the crap out of the guy who flew the big Canadian flag. And that's the other thing they've been doing. They've been targeting.
Music and I'm not down with it.
They've been targeting
I'll repeat myself
vehicles
several times
flying
about it,
Canadian flags.
but even if you yell over the music.
Anyway, that was, as Brendan said, that was just before the big crackdown from the big bad, super professional paramilitary force that Justin Trudeau unleashed
Call 'em
on
what
his
they
own
are.
people. Goons. Yeah. Goons.
Yeah.
Yep. No doubt about it. Sorry. I've lost all but that much respect for cops. I have that much left, maybe that much, because I think there might be a couple of good ones left, but really for the most part, I just don't trust them anymore. I'm afraid of them. I fear police in Canada. Never
I
thought I'd say
do.
that.
Today, when police were driving by, when I was in front of City Hall, they actually waved, and I was taken back by it, because I too, like you, have lost all respect for police. In fact, I'm terrified of them.
Yep. Yeah, me too. I remember when I was in kindergarten, and a police officer coming in to the community relations guy, and he sat at the front of the class, and we were all sitting on the floor, and he sat there and he said, "Remember, kids, a police officer is your friend. If you need help, that's what a police officer is for. Police officers are here to help you and to help keep you safe."
That's what we were taught. That's exactly what we were taught as kids. I'm having all kinds of technical issues with sound and mic, so bear with me. Sorry.
Sure, no problem. But yeah, now today, and for years I worked with police, and always had great respect. Never had a problem. I thought cops were great and focused on the community, and now it's all changed. It's gone from community policing to this new progressive policing mentality, and now with all of this, over the last 2 years, the way I've seen kids treated, children arrested, people beaten, even before Ottawa, they were beating people in the streets.
Yeah.
No excuse. And, today I saw a tweet from the OPP, and it was a picture of an OPP officer who helped a motorist in somewhere up in further north in Ontario. I don't think it was too far from Ottawa, actually. I'm not sure. But it was just about how this officer had helped this couple navigate through a snowstorm to get where they wanted to go, or where they needed to go in a snowstorm, and they were visiting from another country. And so they tweeted this thing out, and it was sort of like, look how great we are. Look at our officer. Our officer is a hero, basically, right? And then people are all messaging underneath, "Oh, well, that's great policing, good
Doing
officer."
his job.
It was actually a woman, I think, but it was like, I was thinking,
She
that's
was.
exactly right. Oh,
Doing her
she's
job.
Yeah, she did her job, and she did it well. But I guess you have to give the officer a hero biscuit, right? And I thought, yeah, okay, well, it's going to take a hell of a lot more than that to restore my confidence in policing, in the police in this country. Not after what I witnessed over the weekend.
I will never, ever be able to erase what I saw.
Tragic.
When I saw the like, I could see further than what my camera would pick up, because, as you know, there were times where I was pulled back away from the crowd, and when I saw everyone take a knee, and I saw the people at the front get beaten with clubs after they took a knee in front of these, like, totally taking a knee in front of them is showing full-on submission. They finished singing "Oh Canada," they took a knee, continued to sing "Oh Canada," and were beaten.
Yeah. And then there's this. This is fantastic. Talking about how public trust in police has been destroyed. Look at this.
This family.
So here we are. This is Ottawa. Family-run cafe, right?
Yep. Right down the road from my hotel. Lovely people.
Yeah. So what's going on here?
Well, I don't exactly know why the police. This video was challenging to understand, because I never caught why the police were trying to come in, but what I did catch is the police are trying
saying that they're going to break
the windows.
Yep, they were threatening to break the windows to get in. The cops. So
why?
the owners.
What did they want in for?
An inspection.
Okay.
Apparently.
Well, because
an
they
inspection.
knew. Well, what was happening was, throughout the convoy, this gentleman did a YouTube video talking about how great the protesters
share
were.
this out, you guys. Get it out everywhere. Now. Get it out.
So,
saying they're going to break the window.
The place was always
They
packed.
already walked around back, you guys, so.
I know they can't get in because they're breaking in, and then they'll have to pay the thing for the
Here's your tax service. Here's your taxes at play, everyone. Welcome to absolute tyranny.
How many officers are out there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I'm counting so far. Is that 6?
They traveled in groups of 8 to 10, so there's more probably with
Know
them.
who that lady is?
I don't trust you.
Yeah, he doesn't trust them.
You just told me that you want to break the wall, so I don't interfere. Come on. No, Deborah. Listen, I'm not going to open the door.
These are the citizens of Ottawa that needed protection.
Business owners who were told to close their businesses to protect themselves. He didn't. He was going to lose his business if he didn't open.
Tell me you can't hear because he's wearing a mask.
And
Keep
in the
sharing this out, you guys.
and in the time that he was open,
Keep
while the
sharing.
truckers were there,
Keep sharing. Get it out there.
any problems?
No, in fact, he's the one that put the YouTube video saying
This
that
guy's walking
he was
crazy.
months and months behind in his rent. He made more money in those 3 weeks than he'd ever made in his time of his store. He was able to pay all of his back bills, from all of this open close, from lockdowns. He said that the tips
Share
were
this out.
amazing. He said that the protesters actually cleaned his bathrooms and mopped his floors for him.
That's why we need the Emergencies Act.
Well, because he didn't follow the discrimination, he did not discriminate. He allowed people go in without a QR code.
And you know
Oh,
what?
yeah, they're coming for him. They're coming for him.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're seeing that locally, here in Sarnia. We've got 2 restaurants, Athena's and the Leaky Tank, both of them being harassed nonstop because they chose not to discriminate.
Yeah, there's some gelato cafe, too, that has been targeted by left-wing political activists, vandalized in Ottawa because they opened and they found out that she donated to the truckers. She gave them, I think, $250. So, yeah, now that whole business is under constant harassment from the left. They were on Fox News last night.
Where's their protection for being doxxed?
Yeah, not hearing about that on CTV, CBC, Global.
These guys here, so Justin Trudeau is giving a $20 million fund to pay to businesses up to $10,000 for not being able to so-called open during all of this. I bet you these guys won't get anything.
They clearly see this guy as evil on the other side of the door. I mean, he's rebuking him in the name of Jesus. She's worshiping evil.
So these
That's how they
people,
see
this
them.
is the problem. These people are afraid of the police. If this was good policing, why wouldn't you open the door? Because you'd be able to trust them. You wouldn't be afraid of them. You shouldn't have to be afraid of them.
Well, it was always that was who you would go to when you were afraid. But
When you needed help, yep.
They're clearly afraid. They see him as pure, and see these officers as pure evil. There's no trust. They don't trust them.
I
And
don't
they
know if the damage the cops have done to the reputation will ever be repaired. I just don't see how.
You're wearing a mask and not showing your name.
That's the other thing. The cops there through this, most of them, no names on their uniforms, insignias removed.
No. And wouldn't
That
tell
way when
people.
obviously that way when they beat people, it becomes more difficult to do anything about it in court after.
My heart hurts for this couple. They were a lovely couple.
Terrible.
Just we don't want the food to be bad. Okay?
Lord, was this what the day was supposed to be? We knew there was something else that was gonna happen. It's like we knew there was something else gonna happen, so this is what's happening.
I know at some point
We
there,
have the presence of the Lord right now, and that's why they can't come in. They can only do what they can do if the Lord allows it. Plain and simple.
Jeez. What is his problem? I don't want to say nothing.
So they went away and came back.
my guess is they were making a call to get legal advice.
That's awesome.
Shall I smash it or not?
Are we allowed to break these windows? Are we allowed to
Oh my
forcibly
God.
enter?
That would mean the Ottawa. That would mean the police are the ones terrorizing the city.
I'm right up. I know. Yeah.
Saul has to change, you guys.
Okay, then stay up. No, I want the ticket, okay? Write the ticket.
Give us the ticket,
Give me the ticket.
and that's enough. Give us the ticket, that's enough. No, we don't trust anybody. We see what's going on. This is,
I don't care. I don't care no return. Now, Tuesday is over. Yeah. Hey, listen, I will be going to vote.
Unbelievable.
What's this cafe called again?
I don't say nothing.
I knew you were going to ask me that. I could see the sign and I can't remember the name. Perhaps someone who's watching.
Was it the Iconic Cafe?
Iconic Cafe. Yes, Iconic Cafe.
I don't care.
And it's right on Slater Street.
I don't care. You know what I tell you?
you know what? We don't want to talk to you.
And I think the owner said he didn't care because he doesn't have anything left to lose.
He doesn't. He was going to have to close his doors before the convoy came to town.
Right.
That's what he said.
And that's what I was saying from the beginning. It was like it's like a huge convention rolled into town. It's a huge opportunity for the businesses to make a bunch of money.
Keep sharing this out, you guys.
In years past, that's the way it was. But when your government tells you to close your business and you don't close your business, in fact, you open and serve the people they don't want you to serve, this is what you get.
When I break the door, go ahead.
That's right.
Okay, so at this point, there's no more discussion.
They were serving the wrong people.
I don't care.
Correct.
Because
They don't,
Truckers.
Justin Trudeau does not consider truckers nor supporters of the convoy or supporters of freedom as Canadian citizens.
No, he sees them as domestic terrorists.
Correct.
I know, you're saying nobody will arrest us, but we don't trust the police because we see what they've done.
We're in deep trouble, man, as a country.
They trampled a lady with a horse.
No,
Just a minute, but once we leave this property, they're gonna come. So that's where your trust is right here, but once we leave this property, that's when they come, and we don't trust any of that. So if we have to stay here overnight,
This is disgusting.
no.
We just have to stay till Tuesday. Don't worry.
I know, but Tuesday, the riding will come in, the decision will be made at Parliament.
Okay, we'll see you Tuesday.
That's called stubbornness. Stand up for your right. Don't let them take your rights. And
It's all bullying.
It's all bullying, and then
they were trying to bully.
in the name of the Lord,
I'm
they
sorry
know
that it has to
they're
come
gonna
to this way, but now you see what the police is up to. They're not even police. I don't know who they are.
Yeah.
They're trying to.
I don't know, but they have the courage to show their face now at this point. Wow, interesting.
Aha! We won this war.
Whoa. Hey, whoa. Let's not celebrate yet.
If they want to come in, they have to break the window. The building, I lease. The window, they're not mine. Number one. Number two, they have no warrant.
It's not wrong.
Number three, they want to inspect. Inspect what? That was an excuse. Because inspection is not happening during Wednesday, and not what they call it, Saturday, Sunday, and a holiday. But they can do it during the business days. Now, they say I have a business license. Okay? All right. And they say they're going to take the business license away for life. Okay. What do we have to lose anyways?
I had nothing to left after this, so I don't comply to it. I'm sorry, I can't. This is the tactic of bullying is scary and whatever, but when you have the Lord Jesus in you, you're not afraid. You look them straight in the eyes, and they're very upset because you don't comply. And the lady says, I don't care, I'll break down the window, I'll come in. Where is she now? And if she does it, she's breaking the law.
She's right now, they're trying to find out whether or not they can actually break the window, which they're pretty lawless right now, so who knows?
No, she's the supposedly bylaw officer, and he says he's a bylaw officer, but he's not.
Yeah.
He has,
These are bylaw officers with this kind of aggression.
All the police on the front line yesterday had all their tags covered. They didn't show their identification. Yeah. The tactical riot gear guys had nothing on their face covered, everything. We heard there's 200 prisoners released yesterday or 2 days ago. We're thinking that was them.
So once you have the close sign on here, they cannot come across here now.
Yeah.
That's what I said. I put close on. It's closed now.
It's closed today, guys, so don't come in for breakfast today, all right?
I already sent them some customers.
But you make sure you get here after this stuff's all done.
It's after 11, breakfast is closed.
Yeah. This is the iconic cafe downtown.
What do you think?
Carla, what do you think?
Well, I'm having sound issues. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. What I think, I mean, first, that just ups the level even more. And it's just such a contrast. It seems like on Friday, something switched. And of course, we know what switched. It was our government, right? It was Justin Trudeau. Because you guys, you'll notice in the footage that I shot, the weeks prior to, the police were jovial. They were speaking with the protesters. They were shaking hands with them, laughing, talking, giving them, discussing the city, the history of the city, some of the parliamentary buildings. Like they were cordial and jovial. And then as soon as, I guess, Friday, Saturday hit, there was like a 365-degree switch. It was frightening. It was so night and day. They were gaining the trust of the protesters so that they could, keep it peaceful until they could bring in the goons. Yeah. I don't know.
Well,
I mean,
we're having some audio issues, Carla.
Can you hear me?
What are we looking at here, Brendan? What's that?
Oh, Jesus.
Well, that is the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, acknowledging yesterday. So the RCMP is aware of the material circulating on social media pertaining to a chat group that includes some of its members. We can confirm that we are looking into the matter. This material is not representative of those who have committed themselves to serving Canadians with integrity and professionalism. All members of the RCMP know that whether on or off duty, they have a responsibility to hold themselves to the highest professional standards and are subject to the code of conduct of the RCMP at all times. All right, that chat group is fully representative of what the members of the RCMP are, who they are, and what they do. Like,
yeah,
that's stupid. That's the dumbest thing I've seen. Oh, this doesn't represent how we are. It's like, hey, clearly it does.
So you want to pull up the stuff that was posted on Twitter that they're talking about there, Brendan? So
yeah, I can pull it up.
Show folks
chat
again. So they have some, some people may not have seen that from yesterday, where the cops were talking about. Well, you got to see this to believe it.
So there was, I think it might even be like a Telegram group where all the officers have been in discussion.
Yeah, it's some kind of a group chat.
Yeah.
At first, I thought it was I wasn't really quick to trust it, but then it spread so far, and then out came this memo from the RCMP, and I'm like, it's legit.
It is legit.
Yeah, Nancy Simard says Mayor Jim Watson of Ottawa wants to sell the trucks seized. Yeah, and he wants to keep the revenue, sort of like a proceeds of crime type of maneuver under the new powers that Justin Trudeau has, so that then the municipality would get the funds. And as you mentioned, Brendan, the federal government is coughing up. What is it, $20 million for the municipality?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the $20 million between the two fundraising events?
No, this is money that the federal government is putting into a fund, and they are giving it to a group called Invest Ottawa, which appears to have a board of directors that, what do you call it, like a not-for-profit board of directors. It appears to be a group that's supposed to help entrepreneurs and that type of stuff. The company, like, looking at it, like, the mayor, Jim Watson, is the co-chair of the organization, amongst one other person, but the federal government is going to give Invest Ottawa $20 million to distribute to the businesses affected by the so-called trucker movement in Ottawa.
So do you see how it works, folks? You're the municipality.
What about the $20 million that were taken from the Give and Go and the GoFundMe? Those assets were frozen in. What is just frozen?
It just, yeah, it can't get to any of the organizers of it.
But do you see how
Can't get to the organizers, yet the government doesn't have it, but they have control over it. They're just holding it.
Look, but here's the bigger picture. If you're the municipality, you're the mayor, you all you got to do is call the truckers a bunch of racist Nazis, and you say, these guys are violent and they've done a lot of damage to our town. And then the federal government comes in and says, yeah, we're going to give you $20 million in relief. So it sort of works like a $20 million incentive to call the truckers a bunch of Nazis, doesn't it? Because is the mayor going to come out and say, see, if he were to say, those truckers are a bunch of nice guys and they really didn't do anything bad. They really just kind of had a dance party in the middle of the street and exercised their right to free speech. And I support that. And then what's Justin Trudeau going to give you then? Well, he'd say, well, they didn't damage anything, and you have unacceptable views, Mayor. So, you don't get anything. So over here, you get $20 million to build your little empire and, your little corner of power, another $20 million project here or whatever you want, and line the pockets of your friends politically. Spend, this guy gets that bit of 20 million. You get the 20 million to dole out any way you want, or as and have some say in it. But it's $20 million, right? So there's a lot of influence that comes with $20 million. And if you're offering that kind of cash up, maybe you can just get people to kind of say and do the things that you want them to say and do. See how it works?
So.
Well, I mean, it's been about the money for so long.
Yeah, that's a big thing to do with it. And there's some fishy things that I think are going on with this Invest Ottawa group, because they are a publicly funded group and are required to post their fiscal end-of-year finances. And the only finance report that I can find from them is from 2018.
Well, we don't want to jump to conclusions. We don't want to accuse them of doing anything illegal.
Well,
because
I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I'm
right.
merely pointing out the fact that the only financial statement that they have publicly accessible is 2018, and that is unacceptable. It should be the first thing that I should be able to find. Why am I only finding the 2018 fiscal report? Like, that's baloney. That's weird. It stinks, and when things stink, there's something going on there. I'm not accusing them of anything. You could use your own imagination, and I'm not making any speculation here, but what I'm saying is I see something here and it stinks.
Well,
Definitely.
money makes the world go around, especially in politics. So, and the thing about politics is what they're doing might not be illegal, but it still can be corrupt.
Absolutely. Well, because when you're corrupt, everything's legal,
Right.
for them.
Hey, Brendan, do we have the feed queued up for the vote, which is coming up shortly?
I sure does.
Because I know everybody's going to want to tune in for that circus.
Yes. You asked me to pull up the other thing, too.
Oh, sure, I can.
The social musical ride. It's
Oh,
already
there we go. Our
So,
favorite professional
yes.
police officers.
So
These are the
we-
guys that the police chief said acted very professionally. And also, it was heartening to see all the members of parliament stand up today during the debate on the Emergencies Act. And many of them talk about how professional and efficient the officers were in the execution of their duties over the weekend while they beat the protesters with their clubs.
And so this is in regards to that RCMP statement. We just read to everybody that they are aware of this so-called chat group. I'm not sure which chat group it is, but they labeled it Social Musical Ride 2022. They're calling themselves heroes. The whole 9 yards. Oops.
Yeah, I mean, they're just mocking the protesters, right?
Big time.
The
Here they clarified the sentiments that we've shared on this show, that the officers that are there are signed up. Anyone not signed up, jump on this. Your police officers first and ride members second. Don't cower it away when we're needed. Even one shift can relieve an OPS member for one night. Just like we said, this shows the mentality of the officers that's exactly what they signed up for. They wanted to go in there and start beating people.
Well, that's because they were talking about relieving Ottawa Police Service members, right? But that's not really the focus of the problem. The focus is there are just a few of these.
Time for the protesters to hear our jackboots on the ground.
Right. I mean, that's the problem right there.
That
there shows the attitude. Yeah. No compassion. It's just time to go. Time for them to hear our jackboots. And then the response to that even shows, is that still up there, Brendan, or did you flip pages?
This is a new one. Oh, do you want me to go back?
Can you go back and then look at the response? Okay, so he says, time for the protesters to hear our jackboots on the ground. And then the other guy says, whoa, Nixon. This is a kinder, gentler RCMP. I think there might be some sarcasm in that, but let's take it that he's sincere. But then the response is, okay, we can give out free hugs and unicorn stickers. Yeah, that's sarcasm because he knows what they're going to do when they get down there.
And you can't quite see this GIF or whatever they posted here, but you could bet your ass that this is what this Robin Thibault said is not sincere. Like, this just reinforces it. And they also talk about the woman who got trampled by the horse, and they say, wow, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
We only think we're living the dream, they say.
Yeah. The woman and the walker, an elderly woman who uses a little walker on wheels to get around, and she was knocked down and trampled by a horse.
What about the guy that's laying there with the horse's hoof on his face?
Right. And there was a second person also knocked down and trampled by a horse as well. And we still don't really know what his condition is even now. And the woman apparently suffered a broken shoulder, dislocated shoulder, but a serious shoulder injury and a serious injury to her collarbone as well. And these officers are like, that's awesome. That's what we need to do.
Yeah.
You know what? There was also, I saw a radio announcer, Dan McDonald, AM 800, Windsor, mocked it, made fun of the woman. I'm sorry I don't have the tweet handy at the moment, but just even at the local level, that stuff filters down. And this is a guy who's supposed to be a community leader because he's on the radio every morning in Windsor, Ontario. And he was saying that if you mess around with a horse, you get a horse's ass in your face. That's a lesson for you. It was something, I'm paraphrasing, but it was like that. The sickening thing is, yeah.
The people didn't approach the horses. They brought the horses in to move the crowd.
You know, that Dan McDonald, he's a scumbag. He should be fired. That guy has been full of hate since the whole pandemic began. All he's done is go on the radio every day and spew crap about the unvaccinated and on and on and on. He's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
He must hang out with our mayor.
Yeah, well, there's a
Sarnia.
bunch of them, right? There's a whole whack of them. They don't care about people. He's just a political operative for the left. That's all that guy is, working for Bell Media.
And loving every minute of it.
Yep, and his paycheck too.
So here we have it. House of Commons will be running the vote in 12 minutes, 58 seconds. Here's the countdown. We'll leave it up there so we don't miss it.
Should we do some deep breathing exercises, Rick?
It's okay. I took my blood pressure pills.
Okay.
I don't need to breathe. Not
yeah,
now.
no, it makes me a little nervous over here, right? Because I can't get to you.
Well, I know that I get a little emotional sometimes, but look at what's at stake. And
it's big.
And even now, people are just sitting back and they don't understand how serious this is.
Because it hasn't affected them.
Right. It's going to affect everyone.
It already does. It already does. This affects everybody.
They just can't see it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Rick. I guess I just wasn't clear. I'll try harder to be a little clearer as the night goes on.
Even Betty's upset, you guys. She's in here barking and jumping all over. She's upset. She knows.
That's your puppy, right? Your dog?
Yes.
Your puppy dog? Yeah.
The queen of the bush. Yes.
Yeah. Oh my, because Carla had to go home for a short time from Ottawa when she was up there because her dog got lost, and she had to go home and rescue her dog, and it was very traumatic, and I can certainly understand that. Yeah.
But people, so many people. I was driving back. She was found before I got back, but people poured out. She's 19 hours in the elements. She's a 7-pound dog in the bush with coyotes. She's the queen of the bush.
Queen of the bush. Pearls and all, eh?
She had pearls on. She came back with her pearls. Her pearls are off. She got a bath today. So I had to put them back on.
Yeah, people were even asking in the comments. They're like, is Carla's dog okay?
Oh, yeah. She's normal. She's back to herself. 10 minutes.
Yeah, I want to play.
We have 10 minutes left.
Let's see what other clips we have before we get into the vote. I did cue some stuff up from the debate today. Here we are. So let's let a little bit of this roll. I just want to show you what I was talking about earlier.
The Honourable Member for Haldimand Norfolk.
Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to represent the riding of Haldimand Norfolk, which has been a refuge for so many seeking freedom before the early days of Confederation. In 1793, the Act to Limit Slavery declared that any enslaved person who reached Upper Canada, which the abolitionists called the Promised Land, became free upon arrival. Right down the street from my home was one of the last stops to the Underground Railroad, the village of Canfield in Haldimand, where the remains of a community of former runaway slaves was recently discovered. Since then, Black Canadians have fought in wars for Canada, have made many contributions in politics, arts, sports, business, academia, medicine, law, and many other areas. These contributions tell us that Black history is not separate from, but an integral part to Canadian history. This month, we celebrate Black history and freedom. Thank you, Haldimand Norfolk, for preserving this Canadian legacy of freedom. Let freedom reign.
The honourable member for Charlottetown.
Wow. Hold the phone.
Okay.
Hold the phone. Let freedom reign.
Okay. So that's all important. That's great. Fantastic. But why isn't she talking about the Emergencies Act, and why isn't she framing that with the Emergencies Act around it? Again, like
you said before, it's all about virtue signaling. This is a virtue signaling thing.
It wasn't relevant in any single way except her very last statement of "let freedom reign." She should have. My nonverbals were terrible. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You were absolutely right. That was a history lesson.
In Ottawa without excessive force and with and also show empathy.
Oh, here's another one.
They must.
Here's another conservative.
The honourable member for.
Okay, hang on a second here. Let me get this guy up. This is wonderful. Add him. And let this one go.
Charlebourg, Haute-Saint-Charles.
Conservative.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, in any situation where police intervention is required, whether to maintain or restore public order, our peace officers must demonstrate a strong sense of individual and collective responsibility. They must remain calm in the face of invective and also show empathy. The coordination of the intervention is the key to success, and I would like to congratulate the police officers of the Service de Police de la Ville de Québec, supported by officers of the Sûreté de Québec, who are able to protect citizens' right to demonstrate while preserving public order in the center of the national capital of Quebec. During 2 weekends, their work allowed citizens to be heard while respecting the lives of citizens living in downtown. In the same vein, I would also like to acknowledge the work of the thousands of police officers from across Canada who managed to regain control of the streets here in Ottawa without excessive force and with respect for the citizens who wanted to be heard. The balance between freedom of speech is founded on democracy. Let's not take it for granted. The honourable.
So these are conservatives. Okay, Leslyn Lewis ran for the leadership. She also might be a competitor, might be in the running for the leadership again against Pierre Poilievre. And we saw what she said. And then this guy stands up. Like, this is the opposition to Trudeau. And as I was watching this today, they're all using the language that the Liberals have been using. They're calling it the truckers' protest an occupation. They're not defending these truckers really at all. They make it clear that they wanted the truckers out of there. Even though some of them may be opposed to the use of the Emergencies Act, they really haven't come out in support of the truckers at all. So, again, I ask everyone here, where is the hope? Because they're not any different than the Liberals. They're just not. It's the same rhetoric on both sides, except over here, they just don't want Justin Trudeau to have all the power, but they're going to give it to him anyway because the numbers are there and it's a done deal.
Well, the only thing that could save us from this Emergency Act now is if miraculously 30 people break ranks. That's never happened in political history in our country.
No, it's not going to happen. Especially now that it's also a confidence vote. It's even more of a done deal because they're not going to vote it down, because then it triggers an election. And the Liberals certainly don't want that.
Team Canada's athletes presented
4 minutes, 50 seconds, Rick Walker.
Forces,
Okay.
including the Sûreté du Québec. On behalf of the Bloc Québécois, I would like to streets of Ottawa are
Okay.
the honourable
And
member.
here's just one more before we get into the vote. We have time.
Mm-hmm.
And let's listen to this dude from the block.
Freddie Viard du Nord. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 25 days after the arrival of the first trucks of the occupant convoy, the streets of Ottawa are finally free. This is thanks to the exceptionally well-coordinated work of 7 police forces, including the Sûreté du Québec. On behalf of the Bloc Québécois, I would like to thank all officers who participated in ending the siege of Ottawa and Parliament Hill. Their professionalism and patience were impressive. Just 3 days ago, it seemed almost impossible to imagine a peaceful resolution to this occupation. Yet this is what literally materialized before our eyes as we watched the operation from our office windows.
Carla, was that a peaceful end?
On the
Was
side
that
of the protesters, absolutely. They were willing to be arrested. They were willing to not fight back. But as far as the police line, no, that was not peaceful.
So you were there, you saw exactly what happened, you recorded this on video, you live streamed it, unedited, uncensored. That's what we're there for. That's what you were there for. And who was executing the violence? Who did you see using violence?
Oh, it was 100% the police officers. I mean, that front line, you know, when it was a standoff for hours and hours. And it was about the police gaining ground, right? Trying to take back, you know, the streets and pushing the protesters back. And it appeared that every single time, almost, that the protesters or the crowd would start to sing, "Oh, Canada," then you would see more aggression. It was like anything that they did that was patriotic or Canadian, yelling freedom, they would push and push. We saw them grabbing people, pepper spraying people. You know, they had the LRAD machine. So they in the morning they tear gas. They were putting tear gas on protesters that were standing there, and the worst thing these protesters were doing were reminding these police officers of the Charter of Rights, the oath that they'd taken.
And this guy uses the words siege. Okay, that's the Liberals started using that, describing the protest as a siege of Ottawa, saying that they were holding, you know, the residents hostage, holding the entire city hostage. What was the other phrase? An occupation.
Occupation and what was the other one?
Insurrection.
Insurrection. We
Right.
should actually, while we're waiting, is look up the Webster's dictionary.
Good idea.
Actually, I'm quite infuriated that this moron here goes out there and says, look how peaceful Ottawa is now. You know what Ottawa looks like? It looks like a desolate hellhole. That's what it looks like now.
According to people who had shops in Ottawa, even the guy that owned the cafe in my hotel, you know, down in the lobby of the hotel, he said that, and the people who work in the hotel, like the front desk clerks, and they said that it's been desolate in Ottawa, downtown Ottawa, for 2 years. They said that there were times there were only 3, most nights there were 1 to 3 people staying in the hotel.
So with these conservatives saying what they're saying, it's clear they're not. There's no support for the truckers here, no support for the working people who came out to express their displeasure with the government's policies. They don't want to listen either. Nobody's listening to these truckers.
30 seconds.
Nobody's listening. Nobody's listening. And I ask you again, where's the hope?
I think these politicians are treading very lightly because, you know, for their political career, if they side with the truckers, they know they're going to be, you know, blackballed, you know, all the way around. So they're trying to appease both the voters as well as the government.
Right.
So that's why they won't side with the truckers, but they're trying to show peaceful. They're trying to show why this Emergency Act can't be enacted. I mean, everything about it is illegal. He doesn't even have the ground. I think what they're doing is they're taking that stance to try and prove that it was peaceful, therefore no need for the Emergencies Act. They're not going to side with the truckers because they do not want that scar on their political career.
Yep. They're afraid because Justin Trudeau is ruling through fear to the degree where he even has the opposition parties afraid of him. So, yeah, and again, folks, if you can, please support our work, our journalism, our new journalism, by going to freedomreporters.com. There's also a hot link in the description on YouTube and on the Facebook pages. Like, share, subscribe. If we can get more subscribers, it certainly helps us a great deal, especially on the YouTube channel. And any donations that are made will help us expand our coverage. We have some plans to make this whole operation bigger. And Carla was down there right on the front lines physically and really, taking risks like all the other independent journalists out there. And it was expensive for her to go and spend the better part of a month in Ottawa to bring us the live streams, the videos, the interviews, and to join us each night live. So for those of you who have donated, thank you very much. It's helping us do the work. We cannot do this without you, and we really are on the front line of the information war. We're waging our own little information war here against the misinformation, the true misinformation and propaganda that is government funded that comes from the legacy media, the CTV, CBC, Global, and other legacy media platforms. So again, freedomreporters.com. And we're just waiting for the vote call to begin. And
there she blows.
Yeah. Do we have audio?
Yeah, I just put it on now. The audio is not on in the feed yet.
Okay.
Deep breath, Rick.
I already know what's going to happen, so.
The honourable member for Barrie Innisfil.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The eyes of the nation are upon us tonight. Earlier today, the Prime Minister signaled, as did a member of his backbench, that tonight's vote is a confidence vote. Convention requires that the Prime Minister to publicly declare a confidence vote of this nature as such following convention. My question for the government House Leader is the vote tonight a confidence vote? And if the vote is lost, will the Prime Minister plunge us into an election?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the debate, but it's time to vote.
That was disgusting.
The question is the following one.
Absolutely disgusting.
Mr. Medicino, seconded by Mr. Trudeau, moved that pursuant to Section 58 of the Emergencies Act, this House confirm the declaration of a public order emergency proclaimed on February 14th, 2022. La période de 10 minutes pour les députés votants.
The 10-minute period for members voting electronically has started, and the House will now proceed to the vote for members participating in person. All those in favor of the motion will please rise.
Gabra.
Mr. Gabra.
Ms. Groh.
Ms. Grove.
Mr. McGuinty.
Mr. McGuinty.
Mr. Scarpellegia.
Mr. Scarpellegia.
Ms. Cara.
Ms. Cara.
Monsieur Vandal.
Mr. Vandal.
Monsieur McKinnon-Gatineau.
Mr. McKinnon-Gatineau.
Monsieur Miller.
Mr. Miller.
Mr. Mendicino.
Mr. Mendicino.
Monsieur Serré.
Mr. Serré.
Mr. Dhaliwal.
Mr. Dhaliwal.
Monsieur Arsenault.
Mr. Arsenault.
Monsieur Sanson.
Mr. Sanson.
Mr. Fillmore.
Mr. Fillmore.
Mr. Gerritsen.
Mr. Gerritsen.
Mrs. Romanado.
Mrs. Romanado.
Mr. Lamour.
Mr. Lamoureux.
Ms. Sahota.
Ms. Sahota.
Mr. Virani.
Mr. Virani.
Mr. Fergus.
Mr. Fergus.
Mr. Ananda Sangari.
Mr. Ananda Sangari.
Ms. Dillon.
Ms. Dillon.
Mr.
Should have brought my barf bag.
Madame Mendez.
Madame Mendez.
Mr. Nagvi.
Mr. Nagvi.
Mr. Sidhu Brampton East.
Mr. Sidhu Brampton East.
Mrs. Suds.
Mrs. Suds.
Mr. Fragiscaros.
Mr. Fragiscaros.
Mr. Maloney.
Mr. Maloney.
Monsieur Shifke.
Mr. Shifke.
Mr. Sorbara.
Mr. Sabara.
Mr. Dong.
Mr. Dong.
Mr. Lewis Kitchener-Conestoga.
Mr. Lewis Kitchener-Conestoga.
Ms. Taylor-Roy.
Ms. Taylor-Roy.
Ms. Blaney.
Ms. Blaney.
Monsieur Boulris.
Mr. Bullis.
Madame Hughes.
Madam Hughes.
Ms. Matheson.
Ms. Matheson.
Ms. Idlov.
Ms. Idlov.
Ms. Barron.
Ms. Barron.
Ms. May-Saanich Gulf Highlands.
Ms. May-Saanich Gulf Highlands.
All those opposed to the motion will please rise.
Ms. Bergen.
Ms. Bergen.
Ms. Finlay.
Ms. Finlay.
Mr. Paulus.
Mr. Paulus.
Mr. Nater.
Mr. Nader.
Mr. Barlow.
Mr. Barlow.
Mr. Chong.
Mr. Chong.
Mr. Moore.
Mr. Moore.
Mr. Brassard.
Mr. Brassard.
Monsieur Berthold.
Mr. Berthold.
Mr. Albus.
Mr. Aldous.
Ms. Danshaw.
Ms. Danshaw.
Mr. Macaulay Edmonton West.
Mr. Macaulay Edmonton West.
Mr. Schmale.
Mr. Schmale.
Mr. Tucker.
Mr. Tucker.
Mr. Baldinelli.
Mr. Baldinelli.
Mr. Lloyd.
Mr. Lloyd.
Mr. Lawrence.
Mr. Lawrence.
Mr. Duncan Stormont Dundas Salgangary.
Mr. Duncan. Stormont Dundas, Southern Gary.
Mr. Kimmich.
Mr. Kimmich.
Mr. Calkins.
Mr. Calkins.
Mr. Upal.
Mr. Upal.
Mr. Malillo.
Mr. Malillo.
Mr. Aitchison.
Mr. Aitchison.
Mr. Lobb.
Mr. Lobb.
Mr. Perkins.
Mr. Perkins.
Mrs. Gallant.
Mrs. Gallant.
Mr. Reed.
Mr. Reed.
Mr. Caputo.
Mr. Caputo.
Ms. Ferrari.
Ms. Ferrari.
Monsieur Martel.
Monsieur Martel.
Monsieur Gourde.
Mr. Gould.
Mr. Steinley.
Mr. Steinley.
Ms. Rude.
Ms. Rude.
Madame Vien.
Madame Vien.
Ms. Lewis Haldeman Norfolk.
Ms. Lewis Alderman Norfolk.
Mrs. Block.
Mrs. Block.
Mr. Vierson.
Mr. Vierson.
Mr. Williamson.
Mr. Williamson.
Mr. McGuire.
Mr. McGuire.
Mr. Abultaif.
Mr. Abutayev.
Mr. Arnold.
Mr. Arnold.
Monsieur Généreux.
Monsieur Généreux.
Monsieur Deltel.
Monsieur Deltel.
Monsieur Godin.
Monsieur Godin.
Mr. Cooper.
Mr. Cooper.
Mr. Kelly.
Mr. Kelly.
Mr. Kitchen.
Mr. Kitchen.
Mrs. Stubbs.
Mrs. Stubbs.
Mr. Shields.
Mr. Shields.
Mr. Waugh.
Mr. Wall.
Mr. Weber.
Mr. Weber.
Mr. Motz.
Mr. Motz.
Monsieur Lew.
Mr. Lew.
Mr. Bragdon.
Mr. Bragdon.
Mr. Dalton.
Mr. Dalton.
Mr. Doddle.
Mr. Dowdle.
Mr. Cram.
Mr. Cram.
Mr. Curek.
Mr. Curek.
Mr. Morrison.
Mr. Morrison.
Mr. Patzer.
Mr. Patzer.
Mr. Soroka.
Mr. Soroka.
Mr. Van Pupta.
Mr. Van Pupta.
Mr. Ruff.
Mr. Ruff.
Mr. Brock.
Mr. Brock.
Mr. Muse.
Mr. Muse.
Mrs. Roberts.
Mrs. Roberts.
Mr. Barrett.
Mr. Barrett.
Mr. Poiliev.
Mr. Poliev.
Monsieur Terrien. Monsieur Sainte-Marie. Madame Normandin. Monsieur Simard. Monsieur Bergeron.
Monsieur Bergeron.
Madame de Bellefeuille.
Madame de Bellefeuille.
Madame Michaud.
Madame Michaud.
Monsieur Brunel Duceppe.
Monsieur Brunel Duceppe.
Monsieur Thériault.
Monsieur Thériault.
Monsieur Perron.
Monsieur Perron.
Monsieur Barsalou Duval.
Monsieur Barcelou Duval.
Monsieur Champoux.
Monsieur Champoux.
The House will now wait for the electronic voting period to end before resuming its proceedings.
So bear in mind, folks, not everybody is on site at the Hill. Some of them are basically on Zoom, so they're going to tally the vote.
So, Carla, make me feel better while we wait.
I got nothing. Sorry.
I didn't want to hear that.
Shall we sing?
I don't know. I was just listening to that orchestra music that Parliament has, and it was just, it sounded so nefarious and evil. It was like, turn it down. Turn it way down. This is not going to be good.
Well, did you see any indication that there was any shift in the way this vote was expected to go, Brendan?
No. There it is there. See? Red, yay, yay. Yay, 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 yay. Look, yay.
Totalitarians all.
Yup. There it is. See? All
God
yay.
forgive them, for they know not what they do. They can't possibly understand this.
Oh, they do?
They can't understand the ramifications.
Look at this. They captured the one independent seat in the House and the Green Party.
Well,
well, you know, just remember what Jordan Peterson said. When it comes to things like this, people always say, "Oh, if I was back in World War II, I'd be hiding Jewish people in my attic." But you know that's wrong. That's wrong. Most people would not be doing that, and most people would be doing what these idiots are doing.
Yeah, I mean, you see.
Oh, we're learning for sure that the NDP are red, aren't they?
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's not new. We've known this, but
It's like right down party lines. Are we seeing any conservatives vote for it?
Not yet.
Trust me, I'm watching.
It goes by real quick, eh?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, and I'm also sorry, folks. We have so many comments coming in because we have so many people watching that there's just no way for them to all get on the screen. Two minutes left.
Look at all these tyranny lovers.
I was just going to say, everyone, look at the faces of all of these
Richard Canning.
tyrants.
He loves tyranny. Gord
I haven't seen Del Duca yet. I think I hate him.
He's Ontario, eh? So yeah.
Yeah, no, he's the Ontario Provincial.
Oh yeah, right. He is Ontario. Never mind.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, right. He could potentially be alright.
Oh look, Joe Lightbound. He loved Joe Lightbound. Voted yay.
He voted for it.
He voted for it.
Wow.
Where is he from?
He's the guy who came out and spoke against Trudeau.
And then he turns around and votes in favor of it. Again, I ask you, where's the hope?
We did the math before we did the show. We did the math before we did the show.
Yeah.
We did the calculation.
Even the guy who broke ranks with the party, even he turns around and votes for it. He's been whipped.
And you see that the government refused to acknowledge that this was a confidence vote. That answered the question in and of itself. This was a confidence vote, and that's why nobody from any of the parties was allowed to break rank. And once again, Justin Trudeau's just going to march on and do whatever the hell he wants.
Especially now.
Especially now.
Canadians, buckle up, man, because you don't know. I don't think anybody realizes what's about to come. This is going to be a rough ride from here on in, and for a long time. He's going to have total control now. He's tightening his grip on power, and he's not going to let go easily. This is not going to be as temporary as he would lead us all to believe.
All right, here, let me turn the volume back up.
Do we have audio?
Yeah, it's muting it on their end.
Okay. History being made, folks. And again, while we wait, if you'd like to support what we're doing, we'd certainly appreciate it. We need your help to keep doing what we're doing. You can donate at freedomreporters.com. Freedomreporters.com.
I wish to inform the House that the electronic voting period has ended. I will invite members who encounter technical difficulties to identify themselves If members were not able to vote due to technical difficulties, they may now use the raise hand function and the chair will recognize them. Ms. Zurowitz.
Mr. Speaker, my app has asked me to confirm that I have voted, and I vote yay.
Your vote has been cast as yes. Madame Kayabaga.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je voudrais voter oui pour la motion.
Okay, bon. Mr. Morris.
Mr. Speaker, I had issues with the app. I will be voting nay contre.
Mr. Morris, nay contre.
Okay. Madame Wagenthal.
Yes, thank you, Speaker. I would like to confirm that I voted nay.
Against contre.
Mr. Hoback.
Mr. Speaker, I have to confirm that I voted no.
Mr. Fall.
Yeah, he confirmed.
Mr. Fall.
My vote was recorded as a nay.
Okay, I voted. Good.
Mr. Fast.
Mr. Speaker, I vote no.
Mr. Fast. Against contre.
Mr. McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to make sure you know that I vote no to this motion.
Mr. McLean. Against contre.
Monsieur Singh.
I vote for the motion. Shame.
Boo. Mr. Singh for pour.
Ms. Thomas.
Mr. Speaker, I want to confirm that my vote is no.
Mrs. Thomas. Against contre.
Ms. Goodridge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to confirm that my vote is no.
Confirmed.
It is confirmed. Mr. Genius.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to confirm that my vote was cast as a nay.
It is registered.
It is registered. Mr. Redekop.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just too want to confirm that my vote was cast as a negative nay.
Your vote was registered as nay. Mr. Stewart. Mr. Stewart. Okay, maybe we'll go back. Ms. Kwan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My voting app was not working, and I vote yes.
Ms. Kwan pour four.
Ms. Gray.
Mr. Speaker, I vote no.
That is confirmed.
That is confirmed. Mr. Tolney.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to confirm that my vote was a nay.
Your vote
was registered as nay. Mr. Viss.
Mr. Speaker, I confirm that my vote was nay.
It is confirmed at nay. Mr. Stewart.
Can you hear me?
Go for it.
Can you hear me now?
Anyway, thank you. Anybody else?
Something tells me that guy was going to vote yay.
Okay, we'll compile a vote.
Yeas pour 185, 185. Nays contre 151, 151.
I declare the motion carried. The Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition, on a point of order.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to file with you pursuant to Section 59 of the Emergencies Act a motion to revoke the Prime Minister's emergency declaration that was proclaimed last week. More than 20 members of the Conservative Party.
The Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, as you are aware, there was a House order. The House would adjourn after the vote, Mr. Speaker.
We were waiting for 2 points of order this time. I'll let her finish, and then we'll finish up
Consider the matter at the next sit-in week. I say this to all Canadians, that Conservatives will continue to use every tool at our disposal to end the Prime Minister's abuse.
The Honourable
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
You can't even.
This is not a point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Are we done? The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I would just like to take the time to thank the staff who stayed over the course of the weekend, the clerks, the House administration. It has been a long hour. This has been a historic debate, but I think we should thank all the people who serve this place for their incredible service. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
It being 8:23 p.m. pursuant to the order made Thursday, February 17th, 2022, the House stands adjourned until Monday, February 28th, 2022 at 11 a.m. pursuant to Standing Order 28.2 and 24.1.
Now Canada has fallen. That is sickening. Well, when do we start singing "Oh China"? Like, can we do that now, or do I have to wait? Everybody's audio is working?
Yeah. So what now, Carla? Make me feel better.
You know, these are the cards that we were given, right? This is 8:23 p.m., February 21st, 2022. Canada fell. I guess we continue to move on. We have to, those of us that oppose this, we have to grow stronger. We have to be here. I'm going to give you a Justin Trudeau speech. We have to be here for one another. Future fellow Canadians, support one another. We have to continue to be kind and be Canadian. We may have lost our freedom, but they haven't taken away our heart. That's all I have, Rick.
Yeah, they can't take mine away either. Everybody out there, do yourself a favor and read Thomas Paine's The Rights of Man, because
where's the emergency? Where the hell is the emergency?
Absolutely.
Where is
sick.
it? They cleared them away from the border. Ottawa, they ended. So, if there's still an emergency in place, how long is this going to continue?
They wouldn't even let her speak.
Yeah.
No.
That's our opposition. Democracy has fallen. God help them all. God help us.
But remember when this was all a conspiracy theory? This was never going to happen. Remember when Justin Trudeau said there would never be mandates, that They would never force anyone to take an injection.
Yeah. Let's go back to his speeches about freedom. Free to choose. Free to be Canadian. Free to choose who we want to love. Free to choose. Remember?
And that's what it's about tonight. Yeah, that's what it's about tonight, right? So I ask Canadians, I ask everyone here, everyone watching this, I ask you, what rights do you still have tonight? What do you have? What rights do you have?
And you know, House of Commons is now shut until next week.
Yeah, February 28th, right?
Zero, none, no rights.
This is what we
don't
voted
know.
for, people.
That's a good point. We don't know because it's only what Justin Trudeau gives us. Thank you, Kimberly.
Mm-hmm.
Charles, yes, none. I'm petrified, as I said before. I am so scared. We've never been here before. Not like this. This country has never been here before. My dad said to me when Justin Trudeau was elected, I expressed some concerns, not like these. I never thought I'd see this come about. My dad said, don't worry, we've been here before. We've had liberal governments like this before. I said, I don't know, Dad, it feels different. This time it just seems different.
His father wasn't like this.
No, not like this.
His father was irresponsible with money. He made some really poor decisions. He wasn't a great leader, but he was not a tyrant like this.
And we had real opposition back then, and we had real media, real reporters who asked real questions, who held Pierre Trudeau accountable, who challenged him when he wanted to and did successfully implement the War Measures Act. He was challenged by reporters, asked hard, serious questions. This was a joke. And yes, David Johnson says, get your money out. I know people who are, and that's now a serious problem because now that Justin Trudeau has extended the Emergencies War Measures Act, and they're looking at keeping these new powers in place that allow them to go after bank accounts. That apparently is something they want to make permanent. You're right, Carla. God help us all. Because nothing is safe. Nothing is safe. No one is safe in this country now. Justin Trudeau keeps saying he's doing it for our safety. The reality is nobody is safe from this government now.
The only thing we're unsafe from is the government. That's it.
Because he has ultimate power. Ultimate power. He's declared war on his own people. That's what this is. And now that war is being extended. That war is being extended. It was to declare war on the truckers, the domestic terrorists who were occupying downtown Ottawa with their street party. And now that war is being extended. What does that mean? Why does he need that? Why? Because the truckers might come back. No, it's even more than that. Now he'll use these powers to hunt down those truckers that we saw in that farmer's field tonight, in that other video. Those farmers still parked outside of Ottawa. The truckers who are heading home. The truckers that he has characterized as Nazis. He's gonna use these powers to execute his own little Nazi hunt. The problem is they keep redefining words. Now a Nazi is not a Nazi. Now a Nazi is a truck driver. Now a Nazi is a farmer. Now a Nazi is just a working class person who irritates Justin Trudeau because they don't support or disagree with his policies. Because that's what this is. This is a disagreement about policy, COVID mandates.
Well,
so FYI, everybody, I've just went through all of the votes specifically here. There's nothing shocking or surprising. Nobody broke any ranks. The only thing surprising is there's one Liberal member and one Conservative member who just didn't vote.
I think we're in deep, deep crap.
You know, I agree with you, Rick, that Justin Trudeau is waging war on the truckers. But let's rewind. Let's think about 2 weeks to flatten the curve. That's when he waged war on us. The moment that he initiated restrictions and mandates and took jobs, it's just been escalating. The war has just gotten bigger, right?
Yeah.
And more violent, more aggressive. But we have actually been in war for almost 3 years. I just want to be very careful how we put that out there, because I don't want Canadians to think that it's the truckers' fault. I don't want people to go backwards on this, right? And say, well, because that's what Justin Trudeau is doing, is he's blaming the truckers for this. But he has been waging war on Canadians for 3 years.
Yeah, certain Canadians.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, everybody, to me, the path forward is absolutely clear. As always, we must continue to tell the truth. And
well, that's why we need to be here, right? Because
even when things are abysmal, we still need to tell the truth, and we still need to seek resolutions for peace. That we don't need anybody doing anything stupid out there, and that we must be firm in our convictions, and we need to be peaceful. Those things are dangerous weapons to Justin Trudeau on their own, and he knows it. Truth and peace. Because he has not delivered anything like that to us. But the path forward here is to tell the truth. And they got the power, but they got the legal power, but we got the people power.
Yeah, they have the legacy media too, and that is still powerful today. And look at what they have achieved in a very short period of time. This all started, this convoy, think back, with Canadians lining highways and standing on overpasses, waving flags, cheering the truckers on. The truckers were delivering hope for the first time in 2 years to Canadians. Hope that all these mandates might finally come to an end. Hope that we might get back to normal. But in just this course of a month, in the face of all of this, what has Justin Trudeau and his state-financed media been able to do? They've flipped it over again so that a large portion of the Canadian public believes that these truckers are actually terrorists, that they're a threat to the very existence of the nation, and that they need to declare war on them. So much so that our members of parliament extended it today, extended the use of these extraordinary war measures powers. I'm flabbergasted. I am petrified. Every Canadian should be railing against this.
Especially because they keep saying, oh, it'll be time limited and this and that. They haven't provided any proof that it's going to be anything. Like, this is the disgusting part. All of these
time limited.
All of these people, hold up, I'll give you the floor just a sec there, Carla. All these people who voted yay just gave a blank check to Justin Trudeau, handed him the blank check. There you go, buddy. Have fun. You don't need me. It's all you, man. It's all you.
exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say.
The blank check.
Wow.
Be careful what you wish for says it's a permanent war act now. I'm afraid that might be true. I don't think he's going to give this up easily. He'll keep this power for as long as he possibly can. He may never relinquish it. And think about what Justin Trudeau has been doing since he's been in office. For much of his term, Parliament hasn't even been sitting. Even as police were, out there beating the peaceful protesters out in front of Parliament, they had a suspended debate on the use of the special powers that they gave to the cops that allowed them to go out there and beat the crap out of these people. And now, finally we're getting around to the debate, but that's after the fact. And he's ruling through fear. And it's
100%.
disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting.
Rick, they're lining outside for comments, and it's live. Do you want to share it?
Yeah. Let's go live and let's listen to what these people have to say to justify what they did.
All right, you ready?
Let's see what they come up with. I want to hear. I mean,
look at that. He's happier than a pig in shite.
Well, first, let me just express my
It's your mask.
to the members of our caucus as well as the NDP for the support and the confirmation.
He's thanking the NDP.
Of the
Loves them.
declaration of the Emergencies Act. I also want to thank the interim leader of the Green Party and Liz May, who voted in support as well. Anytime you have to declare a national emergency, it's a very sober and serious moment.
And why the hell were you smiling?
When have you done this before?
This crisis has done everything that we can to provide.
I'm sorry, people. He's wearing a mask, so.
That were necessary to restore public safety and public order. When those existing tools were not sufficient to deal with the crisis, we turned to the Emergencies Act. But we did it in a very careful and a thoughtful and a deliberate manner. And the way in which the Emergencies Act has been utilized by law enforcement is with great restraint and responsibility. We're going to continue to work very closely with provincial and territorial partners, local leaders, and of course our law enforcement so that we can sunset this law as quickly as possible. We are staying in very much close contact with them, but this is an important moment, and it demonstrates as well that Parliament works. The debate that has occurred over the last number of days has shed light on why it is that this law was written in the first place, which was to deal with moments like this where we find ourselves in a national emergency, to carefully circumscribe those powers which are necessary to give to law enforcement to address that emergency, but to do it in a way that is consistent with the Charter, to do it in a way that is consistent with all of the individual rights, principles and values, and yes, freedoms as well, so that we can obviously get back to life as normal. It's been a very challenging moment. I think we know that, but I also want to make sure that I allow my colleague and my friend, Minister Blair, the Minister for Emergency Preparedness, say a few words as well.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I would just like the opportunity, if I may, just to explain to Canadians why we felt this was so necessary. We saw the impact of the illegal blockades on the people of Ottawa, where their lives and their communities were terribly interrupted and impacted by frankly, the unlawful activities of people. And while we will always defend people's right to opinion, expression, and assembly, there are limits to rights when they begin to impact so severely on the rights of others. And we saw that here in Ottawa. We also watched with growing concern as part of this protest group started targeting critical infrastructure in this country when they went to the border at Windsor, when they blockaded at Coutts, Alberta, and Emerson, Manitoba. They were going frankly.
Can we get any more audio, Brendan?
This nation.
It's as loud as it is. It's in a wide open room, and there's a centrally placed mic.
Services, their clear intent was to hurt the country and hurt Canadians. And so I think very clearly, it was in fact an emergency.
But it's not an emergency anymore, it's done.
Canadians, that we looked very carefully at what authorities, our law enforcement officials and other officials would have to have in order to address this emergency and render the situation safe yet again. And we have seen that those tools that we provided to law enforcement and other officials have been used very responsibly, in full knowledge that their efforts and their work must at all times be charter compliant. And we witnessed over the past few days the police operation in the city of Ottawa, which has helped to restore the peace and tranquility of this community. Finally, I would also like to assure Canadians that we said we will do what is required and only as long as it's required. And we are in hourly consultation with our officials about the threat that exists and has existed and continues to exist in this country, and we undertake that as soon as it's no longer required, we are prepared to lift those measures. But that decision will be based on the objective advice that we receive from law enforcement and from our officials and from communities and Canadians right across the country who have been so severely impacted by the actions of these illegal protests.
On that note, can you clarify on timing? There's some confusion from the press conference.
What is the emergency currently, today?
There isn't one. They just have to hunt down the people they don't like.
Yep.
Well,
it's a moot
first
point.
Let's go back to what the law says. Law says that the government can invoke the Emergencies Act for a period of 7 days, at which point there needs to be a vote to determine whether or not it can be extended for the 30-day period from the date of invocation. So what you saw tonight was the House of Commons voting to confirm the government's decision to invoke the Emergencies Act. Our sincere intent is to remain in very close contact with law enforcement. As Minister Blair said, we are staying in touch with them on virtually an hourly basis and around the clock. And that as we are getting advice from them about the ability to restore public order, not only here in Ottawa, but to keep important and essential trade corridors open at our official ports, we will take that advice under very careful consideration so that as soon as possible, and not a minute longer, we will be in a position to sunset the Emergencies Act.
This guy makes me sick. Like, look how happy he is.
Monica, if I may. The law is very clear. It is for 30 days, and then if we to explain beyond it.
But there's confusion from the press conference this morning. I believe you were asked, or somebody was asked, if it could go for 3 months.
Well, and if I may provide clarification, the act that was invoked on the 15th of February allowed for the measures to remain in place, subject to the vote that we've just had tonight, subject to parliamentary committee oversight and review, subject to a vote in the other place, in the Senate as well, which I understand the debate and vote will take place this week, for up to 30 days. But we have also said right from the outset, we will only do this as long as we believe it is required. And so we are very hopeful that our law enforcement officials and other officials across the country will be able to restore the peace and the rule of law right across the country and end the state of emergency as quickly as possible.
Justement, jusqu'à 30 jours, le Sénat va commencer à débattre demain. Aujourd'hui, on était au jour 8. Est-ce qu'on pourrait retirer la loi sur les mesures d'urgence avant les 30 jours? Pour les dire au Sénat, on en a besoin?
Oui, ça c'est possible. Et si on va rester en contact avec les forces policières qui donnaient le conseil, leur avis de la nécessité de la loi des mesures d'urgence. C'est un exercice qui nous continuons de suivre chaque heure, chaque jour, chaque semaine. Et si nous sommes dans une situation où il n'y a aucune des circonstances pour le test dans la loi, on va retirer la loi.
OK. Puis, à l'inverse, quelles sont les chances qu'on aille au-delà des 30 jours?
Mais il y a beaucoup de progrès pendant les dernières quelques journées. Et une de les raisons.
Why wasn't this a confidence vote?
Well, look, I mean, just on that point, I think the Prime Minister spoke very clearly that anyone who voted against the government was clearly expressing that they did not have confidence in the government's decisions and choices around national security, and particularly around the national state of emergency which existed as a result of the emergency. And so
there you have it, people.
Clearly, for those that made that difficult choice to vote against the government, I think they've spoken with their voice. On the other hand,
Liberal Party
I'm
is
very pleased to see that we were able to build a consensus
full of
with
tricks.
the NDP, with Liz May from the Green Party, and frankly, not just here in this chamber, but when you survey the entire country, what you see is support across political stripes from the NDP in British Columbia at the provincial level, here in Ontario from Premier Doug Ford, the Conservative level, and frankly, across police services at every level. We had the letter from the Canadian Association of the Chiefs of Police, the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police, the Canadian Association of Police, which represents the rank and file members. These are nonpartisan individuals who exercise their responsibilities and their duties in a very professional manner, as we saw in Ottawa over the course of the last number of days.
I didn't see anything like that.
We feel that this was a necessary choice, but make no mistake, we have every hope and intention to withdraw the Emergencies Act as quickly as we can.
Yeah, when's that?
Just 2 weeks to flatten the truckers.
Well, I think from the Prime Minister's
30
comments
days
this
now.
morning, and anybody who was making the choice as to which way they were voting tonight, that they would understand that a vote against would be obviously a clear representation, a clear statement that they did not have confidence in the government.
So they weren't threatened for being expelled from the Liberal caucus? That's what that seems to be saying. Yeah. Just a clear yes or no would be great.
No, no one was threatened with expulsion. This was an important vote. And I believe that overwhelmingly our caucus and other parliamentary colleagues understood the importance of this vote and the affirmation that the Emergency Act was in fact necessary and appropriately applied. And so that vote took place, and frankly, the question of individuals' reasons for voting, frankly, are now moot, in my opinion. The vote passed, and we will proceed.
Mais la façon que la loi fonctionne est, nous avons créé les lois, les politiques dans la déclaration, par exemple, la loi pour arrêter les contributions financières pour...
They are traitors. We're looking at two traitors, guys.
Les propriétaires... I think the bottom line is we're going to work very closely with the City of Ottawa to try and support them in offsetting their costs, not only when it comes to law enforcement, but you heard the additional funds that were introduced to
$20 million
businesses. We've been there for Canadians. We've been there for
just like a liberal
the pandemic. We're going to continue to be there for the City of Ottawa in the wake of the illegal occupation here.
Well, they've done a great job of stamping out the hope that the truckers delivered. They've done a great job of snuffing out that national pride.
They can't take my pride.
Let's get a good look at that smile Mendocino had. He's happier than a pig in shit. Gets to roll over the Canadian people like the tyrant that he is.
I think the only way I'll sleep tonight, I'll only be able to sleep tonight by believing they don't know what they're doing. They don't understand.
Oh, they understand.
See, and it's a lie. The whole idea that, you know, they're not infringing on your rights by extending this Emergencies Act. Yes, they are. They can now do an end run around all of your rights. They don't need warrants. They don't need to follow anything in the charter. They can just, they're at war. They're on a war footing. They can target people. They can snatch people off the street. They don't need to follow the regular procedures when they're out there hunting down these dangerous Nazi truckers.
So
and that's what we've got now. We've got a big Nazi hunt on our hands. That's what this is. The government's, going to go out there and hunt down all the Nazis.
Get a good look
That's
at that,
their
folks.
national emergency.
Get a look at that. They're in such an emergency. Look at that. That is disgraceful. That is disgraceful. That is a bully right there.
So they're now we've turned our police into Nazi hunters, and if you think that this is just going to last 30 days, why would it? This is all centered around the COVID thing, right? So like all these crises that, these people on the far left, these far left extremists they create some sort of an emergency for which there is no solution. So you've got a pandemic. It's a virus. It's never going to end. It's never going to end. And now you've got Nazi truckers spread out all over the country, and not just Nazi truckers, but Nazi farmers, Nazi middle-class white supremacist workers, the whole working class. And how do you find all these people? This could take years.
Got Nazi nurses who can't get a job.
Nazi nurses, yep. Yeah, there's Nazis around every corner out there, you see. So I suspect that by the time we get close to the end of the 30 days and we come back for another vote on this, I don't see how they can possibly round up all the Nazis, because the whole country is just chock full of Nazis. Yep. So gonna have to keep that power in place, give Justin all that authoritarian power. He's just gonna have to hang on to it for a while.
Tonight? Where's Monfier? Why is he not speaking?
Where's what?
Where is Justin tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, he voted from home.
Oh, still hiding.
But he was on the floor for question period today. As far as
I know that. I watched
Remember,
5 minutes. I almost threw up. I had to stop. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, remember, they're just protecting your rights by taking all your rights away. Remember, they're not infringing upon your rights. They just have to take all your rights away to make sure that you get your rights.
Keeping you safe, and doing our part.
What are your guys' thoughts about this? It's like this guy here, like, I seen that smug look on his face, and I just about threw up. Like,
this guy?
Yeah. Like, look at him. He's so happy. This means they know exactly what they're doing, and they're so happy about it. Garbage. Absolute garbage.
Well, like I said, it's a dark day for Canada.
Yeah.
Canada's gone. The country is gone. To me, that's what this means. And I'm not alone. Well, there, Kenneth says, get your money out. Because now Justin still has the power to go after bank accounts.
Okay, get your money out. My mortgage comes out of my bank account. Please explain. Do I call my mortgage? Do I call the bank and say, oh, I'm going to pull my money out, but I'm going to just put it in when the mortgage comes? I'm going to come over and start doling out cash to the banker? We don't live in that kind of a world anymore.
That's what
I understand take the money out, but let's be realistic.
That's by design, eh?
You can't function now, right? There's no way to protect yourself. If you live here, you cannot protect yourself. If you disagree with Justin Trudeau, and even tonight, Carla, some of the things we've said here, they could just say those guys are insurrectionists because of, I don't know, pick anything we've said, anything.
Well, I mean, the day I got fired, November 4th, I've been saying things since then. I've had a target on my back since.
Right. And, I think you used the word traitor. Some people in the comments here used the word traitor. I've seen other comments much worse than that about Justin Trudeau here tonight. So just by calling Justin Trudeau a traitor or any of these members of Parliament.
Calling this guy right here. These two.
I just saw a comment go by. Thought crimes incoming.
Right. So you take these powers and then you combine them with the new hate speech laws, like I said, that are in place, and couple that with all of this rhetoric about Nazis, fascists, right? So they go use these powers to go round up any trucker, farmer, middle-class worker, anybody that's ever said anything against the government that Justin Trudeau doesn't like. And where does it end? It just escalates. We've seen this in history before. Where is this going to end? How many Nazis do they need to round up before how many is it going to take to end this? When will they be satisfied? How many Nazis do they need? And are these truckers really Nazis? Really?
Well, only time is going to tell at this point, and I think now's as good as any time to wrap it up, so I could go cry myself to sleep.
I'm going to have a drink. Just one.
Just one.
People really need to ask themselves that question tonight. How many Nazis will it take to satisfy these members of parliament that this apparent emergency and existential threat to the country can wrap up? How many and who? I didn't hear anybody even asking those questions today. Nobody asked hard questions like that. Nobody quantified this. Nobody provided any real details on why they need it, what they're targeting, who they're targeting, why they need to target these people, what the real true objective is, what the end goal is here. If you're going to war,
how long it needs to be targeted for,
right?
How long it needs to go for.
If you're going to target people, or if you go to war, what's the objective? At what point do you declare victory so that you no longer need to be at war? There's no plan. There's nothing there because it's all open-ended. They're not going to let go of this. We are in grave, grave danger as a country. The existential threat to the country is the government because they've shredded the foundation of our democracy. They've shredded the foundation of our freedoms. They've shredded our freedoms. You have no rights now, folks. You have no rights. Canada is dead. It has fallen. It no longer exists. There is no Canada anymore. But we need to find a way to get it back. With that being said, Brendan's quite right. It's sort of time to wrap things up here and so again, if you can support our journalism, because we're going to be here trying to find a way back to what Canada was. We're going to continue to fight this information war, this propaganda that's coming out of my former employer, CTV. We're going to fight the propaganda coming from Global, and especially the CBC, which is a left-wing communist government paid for mouthpiece for Justin Trudeau. The mainstream legacy newspaper. We're going to combat all of that. That's what we're here for. We need your help. If you can help us, you can donate at freedomreporters.com tonight. You can also click the hot link in the YouTube description or on the Facebook pages. Please also subscribe, like, share, ring the notification bell on YouTube to make sure you don't miss any notifications. Help us grow what we're doing. Help us get the message out. I know that there are still truckers out there tonight who are trying to regroup and find some way to continue their efforts on the Freedom Convoy front in a peaceful way. We're advocating for complete peace. We know that we have to find a peaceful way to restore things. That's why we're fighting an information war against the other media that's out there, the legacy media. And this is far from over. We saw people still demonstrating, protesting out on street corners in cities and towns all over Canada today in support of the truckers. And there is that whole trucker strike, general strike movement that is underway as well. And I don't know if that's going to get any traction, but we see that this is not over. And we're going to be here to continue to cover it, practicing our new journalism. And we hope that you're along for the ride with us, because we hope to take that ride all the way back to a country that is based on freedom. And as Carla would say, love.
Yeah.
Make me feel better, Carla. Come on, give me some hope here before we sign off. That's what you're here for, right? Come on.
Well, then I'll be the first to sign off then. So I'm Carla Olson. I am a freelance journalist. You know, Justin Trudeau may have taken our country. Canada has fallen, but he hasn't taken our heritage. We are still Canadian. So tonight, I encourage you to continue to love, to continue to stand in unity, to continue to be kind, and to continue to be Canadian. That's all I have. That's all I have, Rick.
That'll be enough for tonight. Enough.
I'll bring more tomorrow.
And I'm Brendan Kennedy, the host of the Flow of Discourse podcast. It's been a pleasure bringing you the news tonight. Thank you.
And I am Rick Walker with Maverick News and Maverick Multimedia. And this has been ongoing coverage of Freedom Convoy 2022. We will be back tomorrow evening, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with more from the nation's capital and from across the country. And again, thank you everyone for watching. Greatly appreciated. Catch you all on the flip side.